Chapter 51. Okay. Fu Xi, who was watching human race outside the Nuwa temple, suddenly felt something in his heart. Why are they here? With a sway of his body, he disappeared. Next moment it turned out that the three Pure Ones' Daoist friend came to visit, but Fu Xi was flattered. Three Pure Ones didn't deliberately hide their aura, so Fu Xi could detect it immediately. Tongtian arched his hands and said with a smile, Fu Xi Daoist friend, we are here for Ao Sheng. Now, demon race is about to attack the dragon clan. As a master, I am going to take him there to have a look. Fu Xi said, the fact that Daoist friend is involved in such karma for the sake of his own disciples is something that Fu Xi admires. This statement is absolutely true. The battle between the dragon clan and the heavenly court is such a huge cause and effect. For the three pure ones, of course, there is no danger, but a little carelessness will cause karma, and the impact will be countless and endless. It stands to reason that after Nuwa prove the Dao, the three pure ones should try their best to attack the saint position, throwing everything aside. But they didn't want to, they would do such a thing for Ao Sheng. Just as Tongtian was about to speak, Yuanshi had already interjected, Junior brother, don't use the matter of being a brother as your face. This is my second uncle's love for Sheng. Tongtian. Fu Xi? Tongtian responded to the topic with an awkward but polite smile, and then asked expectantly, the three poor Daoist brothers came and found that many human races were chanting the name of my unworthy apprentice. It seems that he has life and human race should be quite fulfilling, right? Fu Xi, this, is quite, fulfilling. Tongtian Daoist friend, this. Fu Xi Daoist friend, needless to say, you can teach my lazy boy, the poor Daoist can only be happy, and will never blame you. Fu Xi, Tongtian Daoist friend, listen to my explanation. No, Tongtian. Yuanshi said, don't worry, Tongtian isn't talking politely. It's the common expectation of the three of us to see that little thing suffer. Although it sounds a bit weird to say this, it really makes people happy. Fu Xi, Yuanshi Daoist friend, listen to me. Yuanshi Daoist friend, actually. The Grand Pure One smiled and said, that little evil dragon, who can fall asleep when the poor Daoist is preaching, is now able to work for the human race for 30 years, which is rare. Let's go to the sanctuary of Saintess Nuwa and see what kind of good he has done. Fu Xi, this. Step into the temple. Tongtian? Yuanshi? The Grand Pure One? Inside the temple, rows of human race knelt on top of the meditation mat, their expressions extremely devout and respectful. Sincerely, worship Mother Goddess Nuwa. Then, a row of teenagers and children knelt down neatly. By 2 thanks. 3 thanks. Sincerely, worship Ao Sheng Messenger. The three pure ones stood in the temple, they couldn't be seen by those human race. Hearing the obeisance to Ao Sheng, the three pure ones looked at the same time. This. Under the statue of Nuwa, there is also a huge dragon egg condensed with golden light. Ao Sheng. This little evil dragon, this little lazy man. Tongtian's voice trembled, he almost couldn't control himself, and shouted directly. Good guy, when you were just surrounded by the golden light of karmic merit, you were just a small cocoon. In the past 30 years, this little evil dragon has directly slept you into a huge golden egg. Junior brother, calm down, calm down. The Grand Pure One grabbed Tongtian who was about to rush out. However, his face was also trembling. I finally understand why Fu Xi Daoist friend is so hesitant. This little thing did not disappoint the three brothers. Please bless the holy envoy of Ao. Kangwu roared again. Those children stood up strangely, and walked towards Ao Sheng's golden dragon egg. Three pure ones heard those children shout softly, touch the holy angel, please give me water spirit root. Touch the envoy and give me good luck. Give me the everlasting flame. Suddenly thank you Papa Holy Messenger, I now have the fire spirit root. A white flame appeared in the child's hand. It's still Nanming Luo. Of course it's not a pure original flame, it's just a weak kindling. But this is also a great opportunity for human race children. Afterwards, another child exclaimed in succession. Three pure ones saw this scene clearly, a person with a sincere heart and strong chi luck, after praying to Ao Sheng, accidentally awakened from the breath of Ao Sheng's golden dragon egg because of touching Ao Sheng's karmic merit golden dragon egg lingen. Evil dragon, evil dragon. Tongtian almost went crazy. Didn't Nuwa let him take care of human race? He slept in human race for me for 30 years. Yuanqi's mouth was also trembling, although he wouldn't lose his composure like Tongtian, but he only had one thought in his mind, FK, shit. The Grand Pure One shook his head, said with a wry smile, this guy has been the mascot of human race for 30 years. At this time, Fu Xi had already followed in, and said with a wry smile, 3 Daoist friends, in fact, little friend Ao Sheng has contributed a lot to human race, and his contribution is indispensable. Whoa! Tongtian turned his head and looked at Fu Xi with extremely resentful eyes, meaning, Fu Xi, I treat you as a brother, that's how you take my apprentice? 3 Pure Ones and Fu Xi look at each other affectionately, and this time Qingling finally understood why she couldn't get Ao Sheng's blessing. Because, her heart is not sincere enough. It's not that she's hostile to Ao Sheng or anything. Just because she is the first human race created by Nuwa, she has a sense of arrogance in her heart. This kind of arrogance makes it difficult for her to dedicate her heart to someone other than goddess Nuwa, so that's why. Fortunately, Fu Xi told her a long time ago that even if she can't get the spiritual root blessing from Ao Sheng, she is definitely the best human race. Qingling finally had no choice but to give up. She was sighing in her heart, when suddenly there was a low growl, Ao Sheng, don't you wake up as a teacher. East Sea. Boom boom boom. Waves of thunder and war drums resounded through the East Sea, and an enormous coercion slowly descended from the sky. Looking up, there are densely packed heavenly court demon race soldiers above the sky. A whole, 3 million. The heavenly soldiers and generals formed by the demon race, above 3 million angels, come to crusade against the East Sea. There is another extremely bright and tyrannical aura among the heavenly soldiers, it is the demon god of the realm of heavenly court golden immortal of the Great Way. Ao Cheng, this emperor gives you a chance to surrender. Otherwise, don't blame this emperor for being ruthless. P.S. The journey is exhausting, please ask for flowers New Year's Day and beyond will be even better, read a book to relax. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, event time, December 31st to January 2nd. Chapter 52. Inside the golden dragon egg, Ao Sheng's body, who was sleeping deeply and comfortably, trembled violently. Who is calling me? Because it was too exciting and overreacted, he almost hit his head on the karmic merit golden egg when he looked up. Are you dreaming? Why did I hear Master's angry growl? He opened his eyes and looked, the dragon egg condensed by the golden light of karmic merit was still there. It should be an illusion, after all, Master should still think that I have worked so hard in human race, and I am probably very happy now. Then again, my golden egg is really comfortable. Hey, this karmic merit golden version of the dragon egg is much better than my own dragon egg. By sleeping in it, not only can I isolate myself from all probes, but the golden light of karmic merit has no doubt about its ability to protect myself. It seems that I miss Master too much, hee. Then, let's sleep again, and hope that I won't meet Master in my dream. Of course, it is unlikely that I will meet Master in this dream. After all, not everyone can dream of reaching Master Tongtian's level. Unless they are willing, it is absolutely impossible to dream of Tongtian. Another real low growl came in, shaking Ao Sheng who was about to fall asleep again violently. Ao Sheng, how long are you going to sleep? At this moment, Ao Sheng finally woke up completely. FK, it's not a dream, it's Master. Master, he actually came to kill, Yaeshao. Ao Sheng subconsciously swung his dragon tail, forgot that he had transformed into a Taoist body. During these 30 years, he had slept in a dazed state. Another urging, Ao Sheng, don't come out to see me as a teacher. Tongtian really couldn't contain his anger. Fortunately, I thought this little thing had already changed its gender, and this time it's time to learn how to behave, and will work hard to take care of human race. On the way to the human race, he, his eldest brother and his second brother were still secretly happy, thinking that they could see the pain of this little thing being tortured by trivial matters. But it wasn't until the moment when the human race worshipped them that the leader of Tongtian understood one thing, it turned out that this little thing didn't suffer at all for so many years, not at all. For 30 great primordial years, he just lay peacefully in the Nuwa temple, enjoying this kind of life. Wow! A golden divine light shone out. It was the dragon egg that finally cracked at this time. Of course, this itself is condensed by the golden light of karmic merit, so when it cracks, the golden egg dissipates. Refer to Master and two uncles. I, Ao Sheng, have practiced in seclusion for 30 years, and today I finally broke through. Ao Sheng decided to be the first to win. But when he looked up, he bumped into Master's eyes full of thunderous anger. Ao Sheng's original aura suddenly dissipated, and he smiled awkwardly. Well, who made you angry, Master? Ao Sheng. The disciple is here. Looks really angry. So the question is, why is Master angry? At this time, Ao Sheng felt like he was dead for no apparent reason. Ha, you've spent the past 30 years in retreat and penance? Ah, it's actually not that bitter. It's still very comfortable. Desperate to survive, he hurriedly shouted, but this disciple is really working hard to cultivate. At this time, Ao Sheng ran mana violently. A burst of magic power from the Supreme Pure One Immortal Jew boiled up, and then the yin and yang divine light burst out. And then, whether it's three pure ones or Fu Xi, they all saw a sharp golden light released from the depths of Ao Sheng's dragon soul. This surge of light is quite extraordinary. It's definitely not an ordinary aura, but the Dao Guang of the Golden Immortal. Ao Sheng couldn't help touching the back of his head, and said weakly, Master, you see, this disciple should be quite hard-working. In fact, he himself didn't know why he directly broke through to the Golden Immortal realm at this moment. Although listening to Master's words, 30 years have passed now. But for a dragon like him who fell directly into a deep sleep, it was really just a moment. Tongtian originally wanted to vent his anger. However, at this moment, he didn't know what to say. Gold immortal. In fact, he should have felt it long ago. For great primordial creatures, changes in cultivation will lead to an improvement in the essence of life. It's just that Ao Sheng was shrouded in the golden light of karmic merit before, even if it was as powerful as him, he couldn't find it in the first place. Moreover, he was really angry just now, and he didn't observe carefully at all. At this time, the Grand Master of the Grand Pure One suddenly said, Ao Sheng, you are sleeping. No, before you really retreat, it seems that you have just stepped into Shenzhen not long ago, right? Uncle, what you said is right. With Goddess Nuwa's help at that time, no, it was my own efforts that finally made me step into the profound immortal. Then okay, don't make it up. Tongtian directly stopped Ao Sheng's nonsense. After all, it can be summed up in one point, good luck. Obviously so lazy, but this chi luck is so amazing. He originally came here full of anger, but this little thing's cultivation base is a real breakthrough, and it is directly from the very beginning of True Immortal, broken like a golden fairy. 30 years, from True Immortal to Shenzhen and finally to Jingxian. This level of practice speed, even among many great powers, is considered top-notch. And from his gaze, he could tell that this golden fairy was absolutely extraordinary, not an ordinary golden fairy, but a real karmic merit golden fairy. That's all. Tongtian waved his hand with disgust on his face. You're lucky. Tongtian said angrily, your second uncle is going to the East Sea, will you stay here, or go with your second uncle? At this time, Ao Sheng's mind is fully awake. As soon as he mentioned East Sea, he immediately asked, Demon race really want to attack Dragon Palace? A strange look appeared on his face. As a time traveler, he certainly knew that Dragon Palace would be safe and sound. Demon race Heavenly Court, it is absolutely impossible to rule the Dragon Clan. For this reason, he couldn't help saying, those two stupid birds, aren't they afraid of bad luck? Ao Cheng led the Dragon Palace out of the sea. Ao Cheng looked at the sky filled with heavenly soldiers and generals, but his expression was indifferent. Ao Cheng, I have met Emperor Jun, Your Majesty Tai. Your Majesty should know that our Dragon Clan has chi luck bestowed by Heavenly Dao, and should not suffer from swords and swords. Please retreat, Your Majesty. Emperor Jun's fingertips froze in the void. A chuckle appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he said, kill. Suddenly, 3 million heavenly soldiers fell from the sky like endless stars and smashed into the deep sea. New Year's Day and beyond will be even better, read a book to relax. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, event time, December 31st to January 2nd. Chapter 53. Ao Sheng finally returned to the East Sea. Strictly speaking, this is his hometown, his home. It's just that Ao Sheng doesn't have a strong sense of belonging to this family. But it turns out that in many cases reason cannot overcome emotion. When Sheng saw the heavenly soldiers attacking the East Sea, his complexion would still change a little, and there would still be an uncontrollable emotion called anger in his heart. Tai Yi and Emperor Jun are very resolute in this battle. It's quite remarkable to lead 3 million troops here in just 30 years. It's a long way from Heavenly Court to the East Sea. If the celestial soldiers were allowed to fly by themselves, even those in the celestial realm would not be able to reach this place in 3,000 years. However, Heavenly Court has a way to carry the heavenly soldiers to the expedition. But for a total of 3 million people, it will take time to assemble, deploy, and march. To be able to reach the East Sea in only 30 years is truly remarkable. At this moment, with the order of Emperor Jun, 3 million heavenly soldiers descended from the sky. Countless heavenly soldiers erupted, and the tides of the entire East Sea were all over the sky. Even Sheng, a military idiot and a war idiot, can see that the situation on both sides is extremely unfavorable for Dragon Palace. If it's just the number of both sides, Dragon Palace is not at a disadvantage. The most important thing in the deep sea is life. But the quality of the two sides is not at the same level. If it was the Dragon Clan that was at its peak back then, they might not be able to easily resist the heavenly soldiers and generals of this scale. What's more, now, the shrimp soldiers and crab generals are really just shrimp soldiers and crab generals. Heavenly soldiers are overwhelming. The sky, it seems, has really collapsed. The fight between the two sides was imminent. Emperor Jun Tai, with a cold face, the life and death of tens of millions of creatures is not worth mentioning in their eyes. What they want is the chi luck of the Dragon Clan. Adding chi luck, adding Phoenix and Kylan, gathering the top chi luck of the previous era, and merging with today's heavenly court, may raise the realm to another level. Saint, too powerful. Even if it's just Nuwa now, they have the fear of Saint in their hearts, so they must find a way to go to the next level. Kunpeng was also watching from the sidelines. His gaze has already fixed on Cheng. The most important task for him this time is, Cheng, the contemporary Dragon King. Among the present-day Great Primordial, the dragons of today have never been inconspicuous. The old Dragon King Cheng is even more unknown, most of the creatures don't know the word Cheng. However, according to the information of Heavenly Court, Cheng is the top golden immortal of the Great Way, and even a powerhouse in the pseudo-saint series. His combat prowess explodes in the sea, even the top pseudo-saint. However, Kunpeng is also invincible in the sea, so he has no problem restraining Cheng. Apart from the holy beast Azure Dragon who is suppressing the eastern sky, Cheng is also a threat to the current Dragon Clan. Once Cheng is restrained, the vast East Sea will be a big plate of meat. In addition to Kunpeng, the 7 golden immortals of the Great Way are also ready to go. Even the wisest Bai Zi, at this moment, his eyes are full of eagerness to try. For them, the former Dragon Clan is an unshakable mountain that weighs on them. In the past, the top 10 demon gods were either beasts, birds, or scales. This feeling of killing a master from a slave can most stimulate their hearts. Yuanqi looked at Sheng and said with a smile, "Martial nephew, do you want to let me do it for you?" "Ah, Master Uncle, you are actually waiting for me to beg you, you should have said it earlier. I, Sheng, am definitely not a stubborn dragon cub." Without hesitation, he said directly, "Master Uncle, second uncle, Master, please help me, Dragon Palace, to get through this difficult time." Tongtian chuckled and said, "Don't worry, didn't you say Tai and Emperor Jun would be unlucky, huh?" "Master, Uncle, I just said this casually." At that time, it was really just nonsense. Unexpectedly, these 3 top powers actually took it seriously. "I didn't expect them to bet on it, hehe, this is the bad taste of the 3 Pure Ones bosses." "This?" Sheng said weakly, "Master, Uncle, can you stop playing?" 3 Pure Ones laughed without saying a word. But in the end Tongtian still felt sorry for his apprentice. He said, "Don't panic, your second senior brother won't stop doing things after receiving the gift, right, second senior brother?" The moment Yuanqi accepted the 9 dragons Agar wood chariot, he had already accepted the karma of the Dragon Clan. Yuanqi glanced at Tongtian and reproachfully said, "You're the only one who talks too much." He looked at Sheng, and immediately said with emotion, Sheng, tell me the poem you praised your second uncle at that time, and let your master listen to it." "Which sentence?" Sheng was taken aback for a moment, then suddenly remembered. "Second senior uncle, Do you really want to say it? This is too embarrassing. He quietly glanced at the second senior uncle, his ruddy and shiny face filled with joy, his heart was full of helplessness. It's completely incomprehensible to the high point in the heart of the top boss. Tongtian smiled slightly at this time, and asked, Disciple, what did you tell your uncle? Tell me, let the master listen. Master. Sheng still felt embarrassed. Tell me, if you don't say your second uncle, then you won't do anything. Ah, uncle, aren't you a representative of the moderate school? What are you doing together? But it's all here, so here we go. Second martial uncle, hold the sun and the moon to pick the stars. Halfway through Sheng's words, Yuanqi Master Tian disappeared suddenly. In the next instant, he stood on the surface of the East Sea. Ah! One after another, the sound of dragon chant and roar suddenly exploded. Even the sound of the million roars was suppressed by the dragon's chant. 9 streaks of golden light suddenly shone across the sea, piercing the dark sky. The terrifying power, deep and unparalleled, forcibly stopped millions of heavenly soldiers and generals. The golden light dissipated, and Yuanqi stood on the Zhulong Chenxiang chariot with his hands behind his back. His eyes swept across, and just a slight glance made 3 million heavenly soldiers tremble with fright. Yuanqi shouted loudly, Hold the sun, the moon, and the stars, there is no one like me in the great primordial world. Emperor Jun Tai, the azure dragon is suppressing the eastern sky, the dragon clan should not suffer from this sword, let's go away. New Year's Day and beyond will be even better, read a book to relax. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, event time, December 31st to January 2nd. Chapter 54. Crash on the top of the sky, the wind is hunting. Among the clouds, thunder and lightning flashed. Terrifying electric arcs exploded continuously, illuminating the entire East Sea brightly, which is extremely astonishing. Standing on the heavenly court, Emperor Jun and Tai Yi stared at the man who suddenly appeared and stood on the 9-dragon agar wood chariot with their eyebrows aligned. Finally, step by step down from the sky. Wherever he reached, there was a golden light that turned into stairs, layer upon layer, grand and extraordinary. Finally he walked in front of Yuanqi, the distance between the two was only 100,000 feet. He said angrily, Yuanqi, you want to meddle in the karma between my heavenly court and the dragon clan. Yuanqi waved his sleeves, and the white Taoist robe kept shaking in the strong wind. He smiled lightly and said, Emperor Jun, haven't you heard the words of the poor Daoist? The dragon clan, you shouldn't suffer from this sword, retreat. Tai also slowly fell from the sky, looking at Yuanqi. Brother Yuanqi, if my brother doesn't quit and wants to have a fight with you, then do it. Tai Yi still persuaded, senior brother, Nuwa has already been sanctified, I am afraid that senior brother will also be sanctified not far away. But if you are infected with murder during this battle, I'm afraid it will be difficult for sanctified. This matter has nothing to do with senior brother. In Yuanqi's hand, a jade ruyi slowly floated up, and finally landed on top of his forehead. Suddenly, tens of thousands of feet of divine light were released, covering the entire East Sea. Under the brilliance, Yuanqi exuded an astonishing brilliance, even if he just stood there, many heavenly soldiers and generals, and even the top 10 demon gods did not dare to move. Tongtian looked at Yuanqi's appearance, curled his lips lightly, and said disdainfully, Humph, this guy can put on a show. While talking, his gaze was on Sheng. He was admiring Sheng, who was full of style of the second master, when suddenly his whole body went cold, and his head suddenly looked at his master. Master, why are you looking at me? Tongtian said flatly, with the sun and moon in hand to pick up the stars, there is no one like me in great primordial. Although picking the stars with the sun and the moon in your hand is not a great skill, but the words are indeed full of momentum and style. Teacher, it seems that you are really very smart. Looking at master's amiable smile, Sheng instinctively felt that something was wrong. Under the burst of desire to survive, Sheng's mind turned rapidly, and he immediately understood what master meant. This is envy. The facial skin disease of 3 pure ones really goes deep into the soul. They may not care about the top innate spirit treasure, but such a poem full of force can make them fight for it. Now that he figured out why, Sheng immediately promised, Master, don't worry. The disciple has already left you a message, and I promise to make you feel so satisfied. Tongtian shook his head when he heard the 4 words with an accent, Hey, as a teacher, I know that Sheng is the most filial. Since you are so enthusiastic about writing poems for your teacher, how can you live up to your teacher? Are you filial? But remember, you don't need to be much better than your second uncle, just so. Ao Sheng looked at the smiling master, the corner of his mouth twitched. Ah, master, how arrogant do you have to be to say such a thing? Boom. At this moment, a terrifying sound interrupted Ao Sheng's complaints. He subconsciously followed the loud noise, and was immediately stunned by the scene in front of him. In his eyes, the breaths of his uncle Tai Yi and Emperor Jun suddenly touched together. The two sides didn't do anything directly, but it was just eye contact and collision at this time. However, the power emerging at this time has already begun to gradually distort the surrounding space and world, and Ao Sheng has now reached the eyes of the Golden Immortal, and it is almost impossible to look directly at such a scene. It's hard to imagine what a terrifying scene it would be if the battle between the three really broke out. The second uncle is really domineering. Emperor Jun and Tai Yi are the current Emperor of Heaven of the Great Primordial. Ao Sheng said that he didn't care about Emperor Jun and Tai Yi, because he knew that these two people would definitely be crushed by Heavenly Dao's general situation, and then die. But Ao Sheng's psychology is still very good, in their eyes, I'm afraid I can't even count as sand. Such an existence, at least in today's Great Primordial, is enough to be at the top. However, with such an existence, the two brothers were actually suppressed by the second uncle. As the aura contact between the two sides became stronger and stronger, Emperor Jun finally said, Demon Master, kill the Dragon Clan Ao Cheng. At this time, a figure had already rushed towards Ao Cheng silently. It was Kunpeng who had received the promise from the Emperor of Heaven. With a sharp and long roar, Kunpeng rushed towards Dragon King Ao Cheng. Young Ao Cheng, please die. In fact, Kunpeng was also surprised by Yuanshi's presence. However, this has nothing to do with him. Anyway, Yuanshi is controlled by Tai and Emperor Jun, and his goal is only Ao Sheng. Of course, Kunpeng also had a thought at this time, that is, not to hurt Ao Cheng, as long as he restrains him for a while. In this way, even if the promise to the Tai brothers has been fulfilled, Yuanshi will not be offended too much. Kunpeng's personality has always been like this, suspicious and cunning. As for that sharp whistling dot, of course it was shouting vigorously and actually trying to be lazy in paddling. Not to mention what Kunlun was thinking, but after Emperor Jun gave the order, the already solemn scene became more tense for a while, and there was a feeling of heaven and earth falling apart in an instant. Even the little lazy dragon Ao Sheng was emotionally agitated to the extreme, fearing that the old Dragon King whose blood was connected to him would be chopped off directly. And when the second martial uncle competes with Tai Yi and Emperor Jun, it will make the life of the Great Primordial even worse. OM. Suddenly, an indescribable muffled sound suddenly appeared in the Great Primordial world. This feeling is like the entire Great Primordial world, where piercing ultrasonic waves appear everywhere. Of course, these are just the adjectives that Ao Sheng can think of at this time. In fact, the scene in front of him is far more terrifying than this. And then it's dark. It wasn't that night fell, but that the whole world was completely shrouded in darkness. Then, suddenly, a storm that should never belong to the Great Primordial broke out. Emperor Jun and Tai Yi were suddenly shocked. The light of the sun has been blocked. The Grand Pure One also trembled at this time. The storm hit the Great Primordial, causing the Black Sun disaster. The Great Primordial and chaos have never been peaceful, otherwise why would the Zi Xiao Palace stand outside the Great Primordial? Why after Nuwa sanctified, go to the Great Primordial to open up the outer world? That's because chaos often rolls up terrible chaos storms, which may impact the Great Primordial world to a certain extent, causing a huge impact on the Great Primordial world. It's just that the last time I rushed out was at the end of the beasts. A black sun storm wiped out more than 30% of the Great Primordial's creatures. Unexpectedly, when Heavenly Court sent troops to the Dragon Palace and was about to explode, the black sun storm appeared again. Wait. The Grand Pure One and Tongtian had a tacit understanding, looking straight at Ao Sheng. P.S. Finally, it's over. I have returned to the place of work, and I can happily use the computer to code words, which is cool. New Year's Day and beyond will be even better. Read a book to relax. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, event time, December 31st to January 2nd. Chapter 55. This black sun storm disaster did not last too long. But in an instant, the storm subsided and the light reappeared. After all, the Great Primordial did not have a saint during the Black Sun storm, and even the heavenly Dao hadn't fully evolved. The Great Primordial sentient beings can only wait quietly for the Black Sun storm to pass, which is why they caused such terrible casualties. And now the Great Primordial Dao ancestor sits high in Zi Xiao Palace, in charge of the heavenly Dao artifact Jade Plate of Good Fortune. The moment the chaotic wind blows in, it has been directly separated by Hengjun Dao ancestor running the Jade Plate of Good Fortune. For this reason, the disaster brought by the Black Sun storm to the Great Primordial has been reduced to the minimum. At this moment, only hundreds of billions of weak creatures were taken away, and it didn't cause much disaster to the majestic and almost infinite Great Primordial as a whole. However, this sudden Black Sun disaster directly stopped the imminent war. At this moment, Emperor Jun and Tai directly received the voice transmission of Hengjun Dao ancestor, "Two Emperors of Heaven, please come to Zi Xiao camp." They were not the only ones who received the notification, 3 pure ones also heard the teacher's call at the same time. In addition, there are Zun and Jiyan from the west, as well as Zhen Yuan Zi, Ming He and other great primordial powers. Ao Sheng looked at the uncle and the teacher, and 04 was so frightened that his whole body trembled, and the Taoist robes on his body trembled several times. Ao Sheng quickly said, "Well, Master, this really has nothing to do with me. The Grand Pure One is a top power, he knows what happened just now, and also understands how terrifying the Black Sun disaster is." But Ao Sheng didn't know, he just saw the moment just now, the sky suddenly turned dark, and then the strong wind picked up suddenly, a terrible feeling made him feel chills inside. Then, in less than a second, this feeling disappeared, and the sky returned to normal, as if nothing happened. If it wasn't for the many dead fishes floating on the sea, and the uncle just lost his composure and yelled the words Black Sun and Wind Disaster, Ao Sheng even felt that it was just an illusion caused by his sleepy head. Even just hearing these 4 words made his scalp tingle. Slap! A big hand covered his head, but it was the leader of Tongtian who directly hit him with a dragon head kill. Hehe, of course this matter has nothing to do with you. But even though he said that, what appeared in his mind was the nonchalant words of the little thing Ao Sheng not long ago, anyway, those 2 birds must be unlucky. Such a thing as the Black Sun storm can actually make Tai and Emperor Jun run into each other, isn't that bad luck? So could it be that the mouth of my apprentice has the power to see through the future and see through the fate? Tongtian shook his head slightly while thinking. How complicated and intricate is fate? Even if you are yourself, you can easily understand the fate of an ordinary creature, but if it involves immortality, it will take a lot of effort. If you enter the Golden Immortal, it will be even more prosperous. As for their level, it is impossible to see through even if they become saints. So Ao Sheng must have said that casually. But the problem is, he really hit the mark. How complicated are the expressions of Tai Yi and Emperor Jun at this time? The 2 brothers were already preparing to use mana, and the bell of primordial chaos had even appeared in Tai Yi's hands to temporarily suppress Yuanqi. But at this moment, everything is unnecessary. Yuanqi put his hands behind his back, still maintaining a cool and forceful movement. He is already preparing to take Tai Yi and Emperor Jun brothers as targets, and show his peerless demeanor of picking the stars with the sun and the moon to the Great Primordial. However, at the moment when the 2 sides were about to start fighting, Regier suddenly got stuck. This feeling of not being able to get up or down made him feel very uncomfortable. He was already going all out to forge the consequences of cause and effect, but at this moment, he got stuck. When he felt uncomfortable, his eyes also looked at Ao Sheng from afar. After all, the 3 pure ones are connected by heart and nature, and what Yuanqi is thinking at this time is exactly what the Grand Pure One and Tongtian are thinking. He saw Tongtian stroking Ao Sheng's dog, no, it was the dragon head. All of a sudden, there was a bit of jealousy in his heart, and at this moment, he also wanted to touch Ao Sheng's tap. Yuanqi quickly collected his thoughts, and then looked at Tai and Emperor Jun angrily, "Why are you still sticking here? Do you want to continue fighting with the poor Daoist?" He really wanted to fight this Emperor Jun, but he didn't have the chance. Tai Yi appeases the unwilling Emperor Jun, and then sends a voice transmission to Bai-Ze Demon God, "Withdraw troops and return to Heavenly Court, please trouble the Demon God to command." Bai-Ze Demon God is a man with the appearance of a scribe, his level is not yet able to know what happened at that moment just now, but he also knows that what happened before must be a trivial thing. Otherwise, the sun and the moon will not shine, and the storm will surge. Not to mention that the 2 majesties, as well as Yuanqi, looks so heavy and weird. Emperor Jun walks away. Tai cupped his hands towards Yuanqi and said, Brother Yuanqi, farewell. After the demon race Emperor of Heaven left, Bai Zi also began to command the assembly of 3 million heavenly soldiers, and then brought them back to heavenly court in a heavenly boat. As for the other side, Kun Peng who rushed to the front of the old Dragon King Ao Cheng. In the first instant, the old boy swooped 270 degrees and raised again, and he was already heading straight for the sky. The mighty heavenly court's crusade against the East Sea ended in this dramatic form, which felt quite anticlimactic. Seeing Emperor Jun and Tai leave, the smile on Yuanqi's face also disappeared. He looked at Ao Cheng. Ao Cheng immediately bowed to Yuanqi to thank this future saint for his righteous action this time. Speaking of conscience, a piece of 9 dragons agar wood chariot was exchanged for this one shot. The dragon clan really made a lot of money. Although this time it didn't really fight. But he didn't want Yuanqi to steal directly, he stretched out his hand to signal Ao Cheng not to speak, and then said to himself, this time, the poor daoist didn't have time to make a move. Yes, he wanted to make a move, but he didn't have time, because the occurrence of the Black Sun disaster was too coincidental. From the summary point of view, apart from standing in front of Tai Yi and Emperor Jun and reading a sentence full of beeps, he actually didn't pay anything. 787 The poor daoist won't be so anticlimactic if he gets your 9 dragons agar wood chariot. Well, after the poor daoist sanctified, the poor daoist will choose a young dragon from your dragon clan as his disciple, direct disciple. Use this to understand cause and effect. Hearing this sentence, Ao Cheng was immediately stunned. Take apprentices. The future Yuanqi saint actually wants to accept a dragon as direct disciple. Today's dragon clan is in a precarious situation. Although he was lucky enough to survive the impact of heavenly court today, he can fully predict that the situation of dragon clan will deteriorate from bad to worse in the future. Unexpectedly, Yuanqi was willing to accept the dragon clan as his apprentice, and he was also a true disciple. As long as there is this level of relationship, although the dragon clan will continue to decline, it will never be too ugly. Yuanqi looked at Ao Cheng, very satisfied with his expression at this time. He looked at Tongtian and Ao Sheng on the side, and deliberately reminded, by the way, this young dragon must be as good as Ao Sheng. At this moment, Yuanqi's heart is flattered. Tongtian, if you can accept a dragon disciple, so can I. Ao Sheng is smart and talented, Chi luck is good, my apprentice will definitely not be too far behind, hey. At this moment, the corners of Yuanqi's mouth rose slightly, full of hope and anticipation for future disciples. Tongtian suddenly asked, Sheer, we are going to Xiao Palace. Do you want to go with us? P.S. There are 2 more updates tonight. Chapter 56. Zai Xiaogong. Hearing these 3 words, Ao Sheng's mind was a little confused, and even some blood flowed backwards. He immediately shook his head and refused, Master, such a tall place is not something that a mere golden fairy like me can go to. He vowed again, you old man is busy, and the disciple will go back to Mt Kunlun to retreat and stabilize the golden immortal realm. Tongtian looked at the Grand Pure One and said, Brother, it should be fine to let Sheng go to Xiao Palace together. The Grand Pure One chuckled, and replied, That's okay, this little dragon is too lazy, go to Xiao Palace to see the world, experience Grand Dao, maybe it can give him some senses. Ah, you two don't listen to dragons at all. What bad thoughts can Ao Sheng have? I just want to simply sleep. At this moment, Ao Sheng wailed in his heart. Yuanqi walked in front of the Grand Pure One and Tongtian with easy steps. Second brother, let's go. I'm afraid that the Black Sun disaster is not a pure coincidence. Actually, Ao Sheng also thought of this point. After Hung Jun Dao ancestor joins the Dao, he always sits outside the Great Primordial. Since Dao ancestor could suppress the Black Sun storm disaster in an instant, it shouldn't let the Black Sun storm disaster happen. However, the Black Sun disaster still happened. Later, Hung Jun Dao ancestor summoned many disciples to Xiao Palace for a meeting. It's the typical accountability after an accident plus a remedial meeting. Of course, this idea has been firmly held down by Ao Sheng. Even if Ao Sheng only thinks with the dragon's tail, he knows that this matter is absolutely unusual. Of course, there is one more point. The people who can be called to the meeting by the ancestor Hung Jun are definitely the top talents of the Great Primordial. Such a high-end meeting is not suitable for such a small role as myself. In addition, Judging from the situation just now, I am afraid that Emperor Jun and Tai, who are emperors of heaven, will also be called over. No matter how you look at it, these two birds don't seem to be generous. This time they sent troops to the Dragon Clan, but they returned in vain. I'm afraid they were hiding anger in their hearts. The smart Ao Sheng knows very well that it is best to weaken his sense of existence, and it is by no means a good thing for him to let those two great powers think about it. So, he really didn't want to go. But now he can't help it. At this moment, the unscrupulous master and the two uncles have reached an agreement. The three pure ones will obviously split up and fight against each other in the future, but they seem to be very consistent in the matter of abusing and treating themselves. When Yuanshi heard that Tongtian wanted to bring Ao Sheng to Xiao Palace, instead of objecting, he almost applauded. Three pure ones smiled happily after seeing Ao Sheng's desperate expression, which really made Long feel fear and despair. He, Ao Sheng, is just an ordinary dragon. The three pure ones quickly proved to Ao Sheng that the space across the Great Primordial is never a problem in front of the top powers. A period of blank time appeared, his mind was still in ignorance, he didn't even have time to take a nap, they had already gone beyond the chaos. Ao Sheng just opened his eyes and saw a large purple light. Purple is auspicious and sacred. Ao Sheng couldn't think of any adjectives for that majestic shrine. In addition, even though he was standing outside Xiao Palace at this time, Ao Sheng could already clearly feel how much the surrounding atmosphere helped him. It is no exaggeration to say that even just taking a deep breath, the original power of the proud golden immortal can be improved. In addition, there are many wonders in Xiao Palace, the golden lotus springing from the ground. It's not just when preaching that the golden lotus will spring up. Outside Xiao Palace, there are golden lotus pools one after another, in which many golden lotuses are formed. These golden lotuses are not real plants, but a condensed spiritual aura that Ao Sheng can't understand. The surrounding area is quite quiet, but not absolutely quiet. A beautiful and elegant illusion, warm and sweet infinite aura. A thought popped up in Ao Sheng's mind, how comfortable it would be to sleep in such a place. A look of determination appeared on his face, it seems that I have to set a small goal for myself, after I go back, I must renovate my dragon's nest. At this time, Master Tongtian's voice came, Ao Sheng, this place is Xiao Palace, which is the dojo of Dao ancestor. Can you feel the mystery of this place? Ao Sheng nodded firmly, yes. Tongtian, since I have feelings, do I have thoughts in my heart at this time? Ao Sheng replied seriously, yet. Seeing Ao Sheng's expression, Tongtian felt relieved, it seems that even this little lazy dragon will definitely change his mind after seeing the mystery of Grand Dao. No one can resist the temptation of Grand Dao. He gave Ao Sheng another blow to the head, and pushed Ao Sheng to go in. Shenger, let's go in as a teacher. But at this moment, two fiery golden lights came from the Great Primordial, but after a long time, they had already arrived in front of the three pure ones. These two golden lights are exactly Golden Crow Tai and Emperor Jun. It's just that Tai Yi and Emperor Jun's complexions at this moment are definitely not good looking, but their aura is also a bit messy. When Emperor Jun and Tai arrived at the door, their eyes first fell on Yuanshi. The old god Yuanshi was there, and said calmly, what are you looking at? Emperor Jun and Tai did not answer, but shifted their gaze to Ao Sheng. A trace of murderous intent flashed across Emperor Jun's gaze, but in the end he just snorted coldly, humph. Tongtian looked at Emperor Jun and said directly, Emperor Jun, if you dare to stare at my apprentice like this again, believe it or not, Deng Dao will draw his sword with you on the spot. What he said was by no means just words, and the sharp sword energy of green grass sword seemed to erupt at any time when he spoke. Emperor Jun was already at the peak of anger, but now he was provoked by Tongtian and said immediately, Tongtian, you haven't been sanctified yet. Do you really think that the Emperor is afraid of you? A ray of real fire burst out from the body. At the critical moment, Tai Yi hurriedly held down Emperor Jun, cupped his hands, and said, Three pure one's Daoist friend, no wonder, my heavenly court was just attacked by which clan, sorry. After finishing speaking, he pulled Emperor Jun away. The reason why Tai Yi said this was actually to test whether the three pure ones already knew about it. He's afraid, the three pure ones and the witch clan have colluded, and that's bad, for the money, for heavenly court. Originally, Tai would not have such an idea. But Yuanshi can make a move for the dragon clan. It seems that the combination of three pure ones and witch clan may not be impossible. It's always good to try one more sentence. Anyway, this matter can't be hidden, and it doesn't matter if you lose face. Just as the two of them turned their heads, a soft murmur came, "Ah, it's your stupidity that which clan stole your home. It really has nothing to do with me. Why are you staring at me so fiercely?" Emperor Jun and Tai stopped in their tracks. Even Tai Yi was trembling slightly at this moment. Ridicule. This disciple of Tongtian, a mere golden immortal, dares to mock them so much? However, the two brothers didn't look back after all, but pretended not to hear them and stepped into Zai Xiao Palace directly. Unlike Emperor Jun and Tai Yi, the three pure ones, especially Tongtian, laughed. His lazy apprentice actually took the initiative to mock people? What does this mean? P.S. There is one more update. Chapter 57. Tongtian didn't care about offending Emperor Jun and Tai at all. Tongtian, the future saint, is so arrogant. Seeing Ao Sheng's unbridled ridicule, he is still a little excited now. This lazy little evil dragon actually took the initiative to mock people, and even mocked top Emperor of Heaven powers like Emperor Jun and Tai Yi. Is it Emperor Jun's previous killing intent that finally aroused the dissatisfaction in Ao Sheng, a young dragon? It's a pity, I said a word, don't bully the young and poor. But, it's a good thing after all. On the contrary, Grand Master the Grand Pure One asked with a smile, Shenger, why did you say that? Ao Sheng naturally understood that the uncle was asking himself why he was so careless, and one sentence made Emperor Jun and Tai Yi hate themselves even more. Ao Sheng replied honestly, Uncle Master, this disciple has just clearly seen that His Majesty Emperor Jun has the intention to kill me. So it doesn't matter whether you are offended or not. Stinging them a few words will also make Master and Uncle feel better, won't they? Yuan Shi praised, this statement is justified. Tongtian said, you are doing well. So you practiced hard beside this golden lotus pond, and entered with your two uncles as a teacher. Seeing the three bosses go in, Ji Sheng immediately felt relieved. In fact, he made it clear in his speech just now, it is not the roar of Mo bullying the young and poor, let alone the arrogance of complacency. But to be able to better protect themselves. Enlarging the contradiction to the bright side, and releasing it in front of the three pure ones, then Emperor Jun and Tai should not have any more plots against themselves. Ao Sheng hid beside the golden lotus, thinking in his heart, hey, I don't know how the big boss Hung Jun reprimanded and held them accountable, but I really have some small expectations. But he quickly waved away the thoughts in his mind, and then sat cross-legged, closing his eyes and concentrating. It's just that Ao Sheng didn't start practicing, but complained, hey, it's a lot more comfortable to transform into a human form. The only bad thing is that it is not convenient to sleep. The shape of the dragon is so good, you can directly shrink your body, and you can sleep comfortably immediately. But the problem is, Master Tongtian issued a strict order that he must maintain his Taoist body and not allow himself to be transformed into a dragon form. Oh, smelly and shameless old man. It is young and middle-aged, but it does not prevent Ao Sheng from complaining psychologically. Forget it, people can only make do with it when they are outside. Besides, it's time for me to work hard. Humph, Emperor Jun Tai, don't bully the young Longsheng. The Supreme Pure One celestial formula is running, and the breathing of spiritual energy begins. Kal Suk Ao Sheng's dragon soul has quieted down at this moment, and the dense purple light floats around him. It sucked heavily into his forehead, and then gathered into his body. But how long? Under inertia, Ao Sheng, it's so comfortable, let's sleep. Anyway, Senior Shen Wang will continue to swallow, and then he will share some benefits with himself. Within the Zai Xiao Palace, Hung Jun Dao ancestor is like a sculpture, which does not move day by day. This time it wasn't preaching, because there were only a handful of strong people who came to Zixiao Palace before. Three pure ones looked at Teacher Hung Jun. Teacher Hung Jun at this time is more holy and transcendent than when he preached last time. And the power he possesses at this time is even more stalwart, and he can't feel the margin at all. But after a while, Ming He, Zhen Yuan Zi, and Kun also followed. All of a sudden, those who were in the front row during the sermon were almost there. However, the sanctified Nuwa is not here. Not long after, Hung Jun said, everyone is here, let's talk about today's Black Sun Storm. The three pure ones sat down quickly, and the Grand Pure One said, please teach me, teacher. Hung Jun said indifferently, since the creation of Great Primordial and the derivation of Heavenly Dao, the great primordial world has become more and more stable, and the corresponding edge of chaos has not experienced much turmoil. Therefore, the wind of chaos this time should not have blown great primordial. However, this black sun storm happened. Under the deduction of the poor deist, it was discovered that there are still demon god remnants in the great primordial, trying to take advantage of the fact that the great primordial saint has not returned, and the heavenly Dao is still lacking, and wants to do something to shake the tree. Emperor Jun respectfully said, Eej, Dao ancestor, since you are in charge of the jade plate of good fortune, why don't you deduce the location of these demon gods, and then kill them? Hung Jun replied frankly, jade plate of good fortune is heavenly Dao good fortune magical, it needs to be suppressed. Great primordial changes in time, grand Dao changes and many other things, don't move easily. In addition, this demon god is very capable and extremely careful in the past. It is also hidden among all living beings, and the wind of chaos caused by the great primordial this time is originally a test for heavenly Dao at this moment. Those who can be summoned by Dao ancestor are all extremely intelligent people. He immediately understood what the so-called great primordial chaos was referring to. Yuanshi didn't show any mercy, and said, Dao ancestor, Azure Dragon suppresses the extreme of the eastern heaven, and the dragon clan enjoys its chi luck. It shouldn't be the disaster of this sword, but Tai Emperor Jun, for his own selfishness X. Hung Jun stretched out his hand to stop Yuanshi's words. He said, Tai Yi, Your Majesty Emperor Jun, for the third ancestor of Dragon and Phoenix Kylan, don't covet their chi luck. Also, you have to worry a lot about finding the demon god. Everyone responded immediately, I will keep this in mind, and I will definitely find the remnants of the demon god. Hung Jun said again, okay, I won't talk about too many things. The most urgent task is to stabilize the great primordial and restore the saint. Now that I'm here, I will talk a little bit about the Dao method as a teacher. Maybe it will be helpful to you. Inspired. Everyone was overjoyed immediately. Teacher Hung Jun gave them a little treat. Ao Sheng, already asleep. Suddenly, a strong purple gold divine light emerged from Xixiao Palace, which turned into purple gold lotus flowers, and then into purple gold dragons and phoenixes and Kylan. This is naturally the vision produced by Dao ancestor when he preached. Under many visions, light has shrouded Ao Sheng. On Ao Sheng's forehead, a root suddenly grew, and then turned into a fresh ginseng. This is naturally the king of ginseng. King Shen was overjoyed at this time. He never imagined that with his heels, he would be able to listen to Hung Jun Dao ancestor's sermon one day. Even though it was just a lingering sound that escaped, it was already a great gift to him. Ao Sheng, hurry up and sleep. King Shen practiced hard and sent a lot of plant aura to Ao Sheng. At this time, under the influence of the Dao method, the king ginseng has more and more roots, and they continue to flourish. Soon, Ao Sheng's whole body was covered with ginseng. The ginseng whiskers even extended to the golden lotus pond on the side. Outside Xixiao Palace, the area with Ao Sheng as the core is covered by the majestic life energy. But at this moment, King Shen's roots that had penetrated into the golden lotus pond suddenly pulled back like lightning. The ginseng whiskers that hadn't left in time turned into powder in an instant. A deep purple light slowly floated out from the golden lotus pond. Ao Sheng didn't know it, and another treasure was found by him at this time. P.S. Continue tomorrow, you can look forward to this treasure. Chapter 58. Inside the Xixiao Palace, everywhere is the auspicious light is soaring, the golden glow is like a waterfall, and it is extremely peaceful. However, the deep purple light released from the golden lotus pond at this time is completely different from the surrounding auspicious purple light, or even completely opposite. To distinguish carefully, this light should be called black purple, and there is even a strange blood color flowing in it. Shen Wang kept withdrawing his ginseng whiskers, and finally hid them back in Ao Sheng's hair, and then he used a ginseng whisker to lightly beat Ao Sheng's head hard. This is a warning to Ao Sheng. Bang bang bang. Ao Sheng didn't notice it. Ao Sheng, who has become a golden immortal now, possesses an extremely powerful physical defense force, coupled with various forces in his body. They are fused together in a way that Shen Wang can't understand at all, forming an extremely terrifying layer. Physical defense. Shen Wang's careful tapping was completely useless. And when it got worse, Chuan Wang was afraid of hurting Ao Kai. As for conveying the idea, it was a success. But this little thing seemed to be dreaming, so he curled his lips and muttered, Senior King Shen, don't make trouble, I'm retreating to enlightenment. Call ______. It's no wonder that Ao Sheng's vigilance is so low, but this is Zi Xiaogong. Who would have thought that such a monster existed in Zi Xiao Palace? Furthermore, although Ao Sheng is in a coma at this time, he has really begun to realize the Tao. Probably because the lingering sound of Dao ancestors preaching is too pleasant, or the aura of Zi Xiaogong is too advanced, and the golden lotus is too beautiful. When Ao Sheng fell asleep, he saw a purple gold dragon in his dream. There are Taoist voices floating around Shen Long. He can't understand these Taoist voices, but he instinctively finds them pleasant. One after another, the musical notes began to merge into Zijin Long, and Zijin Long breathed out vitality to him, making his spirit continue to grow. The origin of the golden immortal began to expand at a speed that others could not imagine. Once enlightened, Tai can be expected. For a while, Ao Sheng is really enjoying himself. Sleeping and enlightenment are both correct, but yes, it's so cool to be together. Seeing that fierce light was about to break free from the shackles of the golden lotus pond, King Shen was extremely decisive. He shook his body, and suddenly a ray of green light was released, covering Ao Sheng. Then carry Ao Sheng away directly. Ao Sheng, who was sitting cross-legged and fell asleep, flew up like this, but he didn't feel it and looked very comfortable. And that fierce purple light had completely left the golden lotus pond, and in the next moment it directly chased after Ao Sheng. King Shen's cultivation is not weak, so carrying Ao Sheng to fly is extremely easy. However, there is an extremely powerful Dao method in Zi Xiao's palace. Although it is not directly banned from flying, it has imposed great restrictions on King Shen. But the flight of the fierce light was extremely fast. At this moment, Yan Wang was shocked. He finally made a decision to protect the Lord with his own body. Because of his special nature, King Shen was difficult to form, and he couldn't even convey it in words, but he was extremely grateful to Ao Sheng. I don't know how much I've gained since I fell for him on Mt Kunlun. You may even have the opportunity to listen to the reverberation of Dao ancestor in Zi Xiao Palace. King Shen's body was suspended directly from Ao Sheng's hair, directly blocking Qian. He wants to sacrifice his life for righteousness. But at this moment, a figure suddenly flew out. This is a delicate woman, her body is neither tall nor short, and her face can't be described as exquisite, let alone her beauty, but she is very spiritual and moral. Her body was like lightning, and she shouted softly, "Bold!" Holding a jade hairpin in her palm, she let it go, and the jade hairpin immediately released a golden light and went straight to the fierce purple light. Ding! An ear-piercing sound resounded, and the entire Xiao palace was filled with the sound of shock. That fierce light was knocked into the air by the golden light, and Ao Sheng was also agitated by this terrifying shock force, escaped from King Shen's control, and then flew out. Ao Sheng, who was still sleeping and enlightened, was also awakened by this sound. Yeah, it hurts. Ao Sheng was in terrific pain, he was sleeping well, why there was such a terrible noise all of a sudden? He subconsciously raised his hand to cover his ears. But at this moment, the fierce light that was knocked into the air happened to reach Ao Sheng's side. A coincidence is a true coincidence. When Ao Sheng stretched out his hand, the deep purple light actually hit his hand directly. Seeing this scene, the woman immediately exclaimed, "Good! This." Just finished speaking, her face has turned into a bunny question mark face. Because she saw that fierce light actually drilled right into the kids, above the fingernails. And then, there was no more movement. How could this happen? Although she was not sure about the origin of the fierce light, just now the fierce light was able to knock off her innate spirit treasure Tianyun golden hairpin at will, so she knew how powerful this thing was. 0. Asking for flowers. 0. At this time Ao Sheng also woke up, his first reaction was to look at his fingernails coldly. Right now, there is a faint purple streak on the nail of the middle finger of the right hand, the kind that needs to shine. Ao Sheng muttered, "Who did my manicure?" Inside Zi Xiao Palace, Dao ancestor's voice stopped. This time, he was going to talk a little bit about the Dao method, to learn from the past, or to supplement it, so he didn't plan to spend too long. However, it is still early to stop. Under the eyes of Hengjun Dao ancestor, that 10-year-old child was digging his right fingernail, constantly staring at him. 00 he thought in his heart, well, this kid can actually subdue this thing. Ordinary living beings encounter this thing, if they touch it, they will die immediately, and they will immediately turn into fly ash. However, this son not only did not die. Instead, let this thing choose the owner, which shows how strong its chi luck is. As soon as he had a thought, he immediately sent a voice transmission, Yaokai, take that Tongtian disciple to wait for me in the back hall. Sheng dug a few times, but it was useless. That ray of purple light seemed to have become a part of his body, completely inseparable. Sheng is helpless. My poor child, I just want to sleep. This Zi Xiaogong sleeps, and it actually made me get onychomycosis. At this moment, the fierce light inside the fingernail suddenly shook. I was offended. Senior King Shen, are you all right? Sheng finally heard Senior King Shen. Senior Shen Wang's aura has grown a lot, but a large section of the root has been burned, and the strong vitality of Senior Boxing King can't recover at all. Fortunately, Senior Shen Wang sent a simple response, and then fell into his hair after hesitating for a while. Sheng stroked his hair, but found that the gentlewoman had already walked in front of him. Sheng blinked and asked, Sister, what do you want? Yaokai, sister? This title seems to be very good. It made her feel joy in her unexpected heart. Are you a disciple of Brother Tongtian? May I have your name? Sheng? Ah, this. It's Master's sister-in-law again. Chapter 59. Sheng looked at the other party and thought in his heart, this female master uncle feels a bit young. Of course, it is impossible for a woman of great primordial to judge her age by her appearance. After all, for women of millions of years and tens of millions of years, the latter is definitely much younger. But the woman in front of me gave Sheng such a young and energetic feeling. In addition, her stature is about the same as her current self. Nor does it have the aloofness of goddess Nuwa and the unfathomableness of Hutu master uncle. Sheng quickly came back to his senses, and immediately responded, Junior Sheng, meet master uncle. Sheng? Are you a dragon? Yes, master uncle, what are your orders? Yaokai chuckled lightly, and said, I don't have any orders, it's my exalted master who asked you to wait in the apse. Sheng was taken aback for a moment, and then became horrified. Master uncle's exalted master? Hung Jun Dao ancestor. Hey 963, Hung Jun Dao ancestor wants to see me. This really surprised him. Why did the aloof Hung Jun summon him, a little thing? Of course Sheng also guessed the identity of this one. So, the one standing in front of me is actually Yao Qi. He thought in his heart, hee, you may not believe me when I say it, but I call the Queen Mother sister. But at this time, another man who looked quite young came over. This man is rather handsome, tall and handsome. If it weren't for the Taoist clothes he was wearing at the moment, his temperament would definitely be raised another 5 levels. He looked at Sheng, then at Yao Qi, and asked, Junior sister Yaokai, what happened? Why did such a big commotion happen just now? Sheng guessed his identity again, this should be Hao Tian, right? Regardless of how Hao Tian and Yao Qi are just 2 Taoist boys today, many bigwigs in Great Primordial don't take them seriously. But Sheng is very clear, this is an absolute potential stock. Sheng has always been willing to deal with, and even invest in, such potential stocks that no one cares about for the time being. He immediately said, Disciple Sheng, I have met Master Uncle. Yaokai explained at the side, this one is senior brother Tongtian's apprentice, the teacher is about to see him. When Hao Tian heard this, his complexion suddenly changed. When he first saw Sheng, his complexion was relatively flat, just like looking at a passerby. But now, there is a lot of intimacy immediately. It's like seeing a cousin from a distant land tycoon whom I haven't seen for a long time. He took the initiative to approach Sheng, and then patted Sheng's shoulder lightly. Nephew Sheng is worthy of being the disciple of brother Tongtian. He is indeed a talented person. Such qualifications are enviable. He thought for a while, then took out some items from his kyunkan sleeve, and said with a little embarrassment, Nephew, Master Uncle works under Dao ancestor, but he doesn't have many good things. I will give you these 2 strange stones. If nephew is free in the future, you can refine some acquired spirit treasure. After all, 2 stones that shone immeasurably more than emeralds were stuffed into Sheng's hands. Sheng, this little master uncle looks really poor. But at least these 2 stones are nice to look at. Even if it's just the color, it would definitely sell for a sky-high price before he crossed over, and it would be considered a great primordial artwork. A thought suddenly appeared, Master Uncle will not know the goods, it looks like an ordinary stone, but it is actually a top-level spirit treasure. Forget it, don't want these. This is a gift from a top potential stock, I accept it. He thought in his heart, actually, I still want to give this master uncle a small gift, to make a good relationship. It doesn't matter whether you lick it or not, the main reason is that the future Jade Emperor is having a hard time, so give some encouragement and comfort. But he didn't expect that the little master uncle was more anxious than him, so he couldn't wait to give gifts to make friends. Reverse gift giving. Except that the gift is not on the table, everything else is okay. Yaokai glanced at his senior brother, and said calmly, okay senior brother, Dao ancestor is still waiting in the back hall, I will take him there first. Hao Tian sent him off cordially, all right, just go. Ao Sheng gently transmitted the voice, Master Uncle, come to see my nephew when you are free, my nephew will prepare something for you. Watching Yao Qi and Ao Sheng leave, Hao Tian's eyes flashed a gleam. In fact, when he knew that Ao Sheng was a disciple of Tongtian, he was extremely surprised in his heart. This dragon clan can actually make Tongguo bring Zi Xiaocheng to come. He knew very well that Tongtian had two true disciples, Duobao and Wu Dang. Those two are amazingly talented innate creatures, and they are no small feat among the great primordials of today. However, Tongtian did not bring the two of them to Zi Xiao Palace, but this little-known dragon Ao Sheng. Even if it's just this point, it still looks very weak, only Ao Sheng, who is in the golden immortal realm, has the value of wooing. Today's Hao Tian naturally doesn't know that he will become Emperor of Heaven in the future, but he also has ambitions. So instinctively try to win over valuable people. The only pity is that he is poor. Dao ancestor waved his hand and said, go ahead, remember, don't make too many troubles. The disciples immediately nodded in agreement. But at this moment, teacher Heng Jun's voice sounded in Tongtian's ears, your disciple, sit in my back hall for a while. Hearing this voice, Tongtian really didn't react for a while. Teacher, Ao Sheng was left alone. Tongtian couldn't believe it. He brought Ao Sheng here, in fact, the main purpose was to prevent this little thing from being lazy again. You never know, what kind of fancy method this little thing will use to fall asleep directly. Of course, he also hopes that after feeling the magnificence of Zi Xiaogong, Ao Sheng can wake up and strengthen his heart from then on. But he never expected that this little guy could attract the teacher's attention. It's the teacher, I'll wait outside the palace. While Tongtian was secretly happy, Emperor Jun and Tai were not happy. Although the teacher's short-term preaching this time has also improved them, but compared to the teacher's previous criticism by name, the two weighty are definitely face-to-face light. The three pure ones didn't even look at them, and even Tongtian's little disciple had ridiculed them earlier. It is normal for Zhen Yu and Zi to ignore them, after all they have become someone else's old friend Hong Yun. But even that guy Kunpeng left Zi Xiaogong directly and quickly, distanced himself from them. As for Ming He, 3.1 walked past them arrogantly, not afraid of the two of them. As the Emperor of Heaven, he is completely shameless. Emperor Jun's face was blue and purple, and when he was about to leave, Heng Jun's voice came again, Emperor Jun Tai, you are waiting here. Later, the poor Daoist will give you something to help Heavenly Court better protect the Great Primordial and control Xian Huang. When Tai and Emperor Jun heard this, a smile appeared on their sad faces. It turns out that Dao ancestor did not abandon us. At this moment, even Emperor Jun and Tai Yi were very excited. In the apse, Ao Sheng sat cross-legged on the meditation mat respectfully and obediently. In front of him is the majestic Heng Jun Dao ancestor, Ao Sheng, do you know what is in your hand? P.S. Do a little foreshadowing, this is a small foreshadowing for the investment of the gods. Chapter 60. Heng Jun Dao ancestor's question made Ao Sheng's heart tremble suddenly. After he felt that he had onychomycosis at first, Ao Sheng didn't care. After all, this thing actually chooses fingernails to blend in, which shows that it is an inferior product. After all, as we all know, the treasures of the real cow beep are all chosen to drill into the heart or head. He, Ao Sheng, has been reading novels for decades, and who can hide the spirit treasure under his fingernails. However, Heng Jun Dao ancestor's words scared him. Can it be something simple that can be mentioned by this Dao ancestor himself? Before Ao Sheng could speak, Heng Jun sighed, maybe, you don't know. When the Great Primordial first opened, the poor Daoist once had a close friend. He was born and grew together through the poor Daoist. It's a pity that his path diverged from that of the poor Daoist, and eventually he became the lifelong enemy of the poor deist. Sheng lowered his head, pretending to make his body tremble a little. But he already guessed who Hung Jun was talking about, Luo Hu. Hung Jun Dao ancestor said that he and Luo Hu were close friends who fell in love and killed each other so much that they fencing together at the end. Sheng suddenly felt panicked. Why did Dao ancestor suddenly tell him this? Difficult to say. Forget it, you don't need to know who that person is. After all, if your strength improves, you may be able to know his famous officials one day. Sheng breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this Dao ancestor did not continue, otherwise Sheng was really afraid that he would be silenced. After all, there are already many plots, the villain has countless secrets hidden in his heart, and in order to be able to vent it, he told the secret with an unimportant person. And in order to protect the secret, they obliterated the other party. Sheng told himself quietly in his heart, let me just say, how can such an existence as Hung Jun Dao ancestor be such a psychopathic villain? I'm telling you, the fragment that merged into your body is the fragment of my old friend's weapon. Name, Holy. Sheng nodded dully, his pale and tender face was numb with fear. Hung Jun looked at Sheng's expression unchanged, and added, however, the name circulating in Great Primordial should be God's Lair Spear. What? Sheng shook 3 times, then raised his middle finger subconsciously, staring at his fingernails. God's Lair Spear. The Great Primordial is the #1 killing treasure, and it can even be called a treasure whose single body killing power surpasses that of the immortal executing sword? At this moment, he couldn't close his mouth at all. How could this heaven-defying treasure get into his fingernails? After taking a few deep breaths, Sheng suddenly realized something, and quickly pressed down his restless middle finger, and pressed it down forcefully. Ah, how daring I am, I dare to give Hung Jun Dao ancestor the middle finger. Is this distaste for not dying fast enough? Fortunately, Dao ancestor doesn't know what the middle finger means. Hung Jun didn't pay attention to Sheng's little thoughts, he just said very casually and indifferently, Sheng, to me, this God's Lair Spear is just a broken treasure, and Sheng nodded quickly. Master, your mana Tongtian, no, mana covers the sky, a mere weapon is of no importance to you. Hung Jun shook his head with a smile, and said, Tongtian would accept an apprentice like you. Fun too. The spear point of the God's Lair Spear exists in your body, and you may be able to control it with your deep chi luck. However, the poor deist will teach you an extra tactic, which will allow you to clarify your true nature and control external demons, but you have memorized it. Hung Jun tapped his fingertips, and a piece of formula directly sank into Sheng's forehead. Go, follow your master and the 2 uncles to practice. Yes, the disciple will leave. Sheng didn't stop there, he turned around and walked out of the apse. He walked a few steps cautiously, Hung Jun Dao ancestor was still sitting there calmly. At this moment, in his opinion, this Dao ancestor has turned into a sculpture. No, it's more like a humanoid super-intelligent robot that has started to calculate quietly. Of course, Hung Jun Dao ancestor's situation is definitely not something that Sheng can discuss. After Sheng calmed down, he unconsciously raised his middle finger again. At this moment, he suddenly felt that his middle finger became so heavy that he couldn't even lift his middle finger. God's Lair Spear, from now on, my middle finger of Sheng can be called the first middle finger of the Great Primordial, isn't it too much? Forget it, let's be more cautious, under the Great Primordial Saint, no, under the Pseudo-Saint, the first middle finger. When he thought that if he just raised his middle finger, the enemy would kneel directly, Sheng felt comfortable just thinking about it. Wait until your cultivation is great. This guy took 2 steps and ended the fantasy directly. Forget it, fighting and killing is not suitable for me. I, Sheng, am a pacifist. I just want to sleep peacefully. Oh no, it's retreat. Sheng leaves without knowing that Hung Jun is watching him. Hung Jun's eyes were still indifferent and deep, and after Sheng turned and left, he actually showed a rare smile. What an interesting little dragon. This smile is the gratifying smile that the teacher will show when he sees a successor. Hung Jun Dao ancestor quickly lost his smile and calmed down. He softly shouted, Tai, Emperor Jun, come in. The old brother came in and knelt on the ground obediently, and Emperor Jun even shouted, Emperor Jun Tai, I implore the teacher to punish. Hung Jun's tone was almost mechanical, and he just said, since the 2 of you 393 are Great Primordial Emperor of Heaven, the poor deists will not interfere with what you do. Now, the poor deist will teach you a set of great array of revolving starry skies to help you condense thousands of stars to establish the heavenly court. Take it. One immediately, the redoubt divine light floated towards Emperor Jun. Emperor Jun took over this set of large array flags carefully, his eyes full of horror and joy. Great array of revolving starry skies. Just by coming into contact with this set of formation flags, he can feel how terrifying and profound the power of this formation is. After practicing this set of formations, their brothers will have such a profound foundation and power. Before he could open his mouth, Hung Jun Dao ancestor had already said, this formation ritual is completed, combined with 129,800 great primordial stars, in the heavenly court, it can withstand the power of saint. This is the heavenly court background that poor deist gave you, go. Emperor Jun's heart was shaken again. There is only one sentence in his mind, can reach the power of saint. Go. Hung Jun Dao ancestor waved his hand, and Emperor Jun and Tai Yi disappeared into Zi Xiao Palace. Tongtian saw his little apprentice come out happily, and he was slightly relieved, you're back. Suddenly, Tongtian frowned and asked, hey? Why are you holding a middle finger up? Chapter 61. Meet Master. Ao Sheng bent down to salute, and then quietly clasped the middle finger of his right hand with his left hand. Tongtian didn't continue to ask, just muttered, humph, showy, pretending to be a ghost. Ao Sheng didn't answer, so our master likes to say a few words, which is actually very good to him. Hey? Where are the senior uncle and the second senior uncle? Tongtian said angrily, hee, your little thing has such a big face, do you need your senior uncle and second senior uncle to wait for you here together? My disciple dare not. I always feel that master is targeting me, hey, don't be like this master, what bad thoughts can I, Ao Sheng, have? Tongtian didn't ask what Dao ancestor and Ao Sheng said, but just said, since there is nothing else, let's leave as a teacher. By the way, Shenger, do you want human race or go to Kunlun with your teacher? Ao Sheng immediately said solemnly, Master, Goddess Nuwa Veto disciples are taking care of the human race, disciples, let's go back to the human race. Well, Ao Sheng, came back to human race just to protect human race. Tongtian showed a smile that he had known this before. He said with a hint of schadenfreude, after this brief meeting with Zi Xiaogong, the two Westerners are going to bring their disciples to MT Kunlun to exchange their Dao method experience. You have to prepare well? What? Master, you heard me wrong, I said go to human race. Master, so you are deliberately teasing me, I will tell you that you will become a bad old man like this. What are you looking at? I'm just teasing you as a teacher. Are you not satisfied? Disciple, don't dare. Humph, you lazy BD, if you go to the human race, you're afraid you'll fall asleep again, and I think the teacher doesn't know. This time Zixi is here, if you can't give the teacher a good face, be careful as the teacher. Ao Sheng quickly answered, punish me to face the wall and think for 3,000 years, how about it? Stupid evil dragon is so beautiful to you. My teacher wants you to fill the eyes of the sea, to bear the impact of the endless deep sea day and night, not to mention sleep, according to your state, even if you want to take a breath, it is impossible. Ao Sheng thought about it a little, and suddenly shuddered, Master, you have turned bad. Gone. With his sleeves rolled up, Tongtian was about to take Ao Sheng and leave Zi Xiaogong. But he saw that Emperor Jun and Tai Yi had already come out. Tongtian glanced at them, only to see that Emperor Jun and Tai Yi, who were originally looking down, were full of energy and emotions at the moment. Obviously, these two brothers got the treasure from Dao ancestor. Emperor Jun looked at Tongtian, and wanted to provoke him, but was held back by Tai Yi. Tai cupped his hands towards Tongtian and said, Brother Tongtian, come to my heavenly court for tea when you have time. Ao Sheng whispered, Master, those two birds are very arrogant. A smile appeared on Tongtian's face again, why, don't you understand? I almost forgot that my lazy disciple seemed to be stimulated by Emperor Jun. Maybe because of this Emperor Jun, there will be some improvement. Tongtian deliberately said loudly, if you don't like it, practice hard. Don't forget what you said yourself. When you become stronger in the future, just lift him off the throne of Emperor of Heaven and see if he dares to do so in the future. Stare at you. Damn, Master, how can you be so eccentric? Emperor Jun and Tai obviously heard Tongtian's words, but they didn't say anything this time, they just left a confident look in their eyes, and then left. Master, how can you do this? I didn't even say that. I told you on behalf of the teacher, can't you? Sheng trembled and felt angry inside, but he didn't dare to resist at all. It's definitely not because I'm afraid of Tongtian's peerless power, it's purely because I respect my teacher. Seeing Tongtian leave with that mean-mouthed evil dragon, Emperor Jun finally said, Tai Yi, brother, I really can't swallow this breath. Tai Yi smiled wryly, and said, brother, we really don't have many good solutions for three pure ones. After all, they are the future saints. Emperor Jun was not convinced, and said directly, the future saint. Humph, that's just the future saint after all, I'm afraid of them. Besides, we have the great array of revolving starry skies in our hands. An idea came into Emperor Jun's mind, take advantage of the fact that the three pure ones are not yet sanctified, directly siege and kill the three pure ones. Then Hong Yun also possessed the purple chi of Grand Mist, but didn't he just fall? Three pure ones are great, but now? Tai Yi immediately shouted, big brother, don't have such thoughts. Hong Yun is strong, but how can he compare to three pure ones, are you crazy? At this time, Tai Yi frowned, showing a hint of worry. Although the elder brother Emperor Jun has always had a bad temper, he will not be as impulsive as he is now. He actually came up with the idea to ambush the three pure ones. Brother, what is going on with him now? Emperor Jun gasped heavily, and finally said, Tai Yi, don't worry, I'm also talking about it, it's not so stupid. However, that little evil dragon, hey. As for Sheng, he has decided to kill him. It's just a mere golden immortal dragon, as long as it's done in a more secretive way, what can three pure ones do to me? Tai, you won't stop me, will you? After speaking, he took the lead in turning into a Luo divine light and returning to the great primordial. Tai looked at the back of his brother leaving, and suddenly let out a long sigh. From Tai Yi's point of view, he shouldn't touch anyone related to three pure ones, even if it's just a mere golden fairy. However, he could also see that his elder brother's patience seemed to have reached its limit. Hope, there will be no troubles. In an instant, it is already the great primordial Mt Kunlun, the supreme pure one temple. Tongtian looked at Sheng and said, Shenger, during the time you went to the human race, you took in a few more disciples as your teacher, just wait here and let them come to see you. Master, can you stop looking at me with such a smile, looking at me to scare the dragon, you also know that the disciple is timid. Humph, are you timid? You dare to call Emperor Jun the great primordial emperor of heaven on the spot? How dare you be so timid? Ah, that's what. Just then, there was a sound of footsteps. Then a voice came, exalted master, Duobao brought all the younger brothers and sisters here to pay a visit. Come in. After a while, Duobao, the elder brother whom Sheng was familiar with but didn't want to see, walked in with a heroic stride. He suddenly, Wang Hao, was startled, ah, why did senior brother gain so much weight? It turned out that he was just a youthful and vigorous fat young man, but now he has become an honest, fat farmer. Although Sheng didn't say it out loud, Duobao still felt Sheng's malice by relying on the fat man's instinct. Immediately, the gazes of the two brothers directly met in the hall of the Supreme Pure One, an invisible electric spark split on the spot. Duobao finally recognized Sheng, then smiled and said, Ao? You can change form. But I want to congratulate my junior brother for winning good fortune. Sheng, who was originally lazy, suddenly lost his temper. I don't know why, but this fat brother is the only one he doesn't want to be used to. Hehe, congratulations senior brother Duobao, you are still fat. Fat brother. The new disciples who had just entered the hall suddenly felt oppressed. Although the two brothers and sisters said this sounded polite, the atmosphere was completely wrong. Yin and Yang are strange, and they all have their own hands. Chapter 62. Shut up, master. A stern voice resounded in the hall, but Tongtian couldn't stand it anymore, and stopped the two disciples directly. He frowned and scolded, in front of the younger brothers and younger sisters, can you speak well? Yes. This yin and yang is weird, who learned it? Sheng. What do you think of being a teacher? Is it wrong to be a teacher? Or do you have something to teach me? As expected of a teacher, future saint's face is really FG thick. But there is a saying in his workplace that is good: the sun rises, the river is red, and the fire is better. If the leader makes a mistake, I will take the blame. In order to respect the teacher, Ao Sheng, bear with it. Yes, the disciple respectfully obeys the instruction. Tongtian was very satisfied with Ao Sheng's attitude, and looked at Duobao again. But Duobao said, junior brother can know his mistakes, that would be the best. Tongtian didn't bother about this matter, and said, Ao Sheng, these are your junior and junior sisters. Afterwards, these younger sisters and juniors introduced themselves in this way. This time Tongtian accepted 3 disciples. They are, Jinling is an innate Zhengjin light transformed into Taoism, who came to Kunlun to study as a teacher after many hardships. Although he stood quietly, his whole body exuded a sharp and domineering aura. 250 Her aura is somewhat similar to that of senior brother Duobao, and she will oppress others unconsciously. But it is completely different, because her aura is like a sharp and unparalleled sword. Shiji is a stubborn stone that attains the Tao. This stone is not an ordinary stone, but a stubborn stone among the skeletons of an ancient battlefield. Her cultivation base is the weakest among the 3. Even Ao Sheng can tell that her aptitude is not that good. The last one, named Lang, stood next to ladies of the 3 firmaments, and seemed to have a good relationship. After listening to his introduction, Ao Sheng knew that he and ladies of the 3 firmaments were sworn brothers and sisters. It's just that ladies of the 3 firmaments came to Kunlun earlier, and he left later. Lang? Could it be that Zhao Gongming? In my impression, Zhao Gongming's real name is Lang. After the 3 of them introduced themselves, they saluted Ao Sheng together. I have met brother Ao Sheng. In terms of stature, Sheng is shorter than any of them. In terms of superficial cultivation, Ao Sheng is stronger than Shiji. But Ao Sheng started early, and they also knew the love of master and uncles, so they respected Ao Sheng. P.S. Regarding the order of disciples, etc., there will be an arrangement after Tongtian sanctified, in the later stage, so don't worry. Ao Sheng, the brothers and sisters have just arrived at MT Kunlun, and you are responsible for guiding them. Hey! Ao Sheng's mouth twitched, and he thought, I know. Isn't this master unhealthy now? If you don't go to sanctified in the future, you will fight with me. At this time, Duobao stood up, bowed his hands towards Tongtian, and said, Exalted Master, junior brother Ao Sheng has a lower level after all, so it is not appropriate to do so. Let the disciple. Tongtian said lightly, Duobao, are you teaching and doing things for teachers? Disciple dare not. Duobao lowered his head, but the light in his eyes clearly showed his dissatisfaction at this time. Exalted Master, it really is biased towards the younger brother. Obviously he is the big brother. Obviously he is the strongest cultivation base. Obviously, I have been taking my juniors and juniors with me for several days. However, just after Ao Sheng came back, the master appointed Ao Sheng, the Golden Fairy, to lead the younger brothers and sisters. He looked at Ao Sheng again with Yu Guang, only to see that Ao Sheng's face was slumped and in pain. Humph, you little BD, you're still pretending to be in front of me. Damn, really hateful. At this moment, Tongtian pondered for a while, and said again, however, what you said, Duobao, is also very reasonable. Your junior brother, Ao Sheng, is indeed lacking in cultivation, lacking in character, and extremely stubborn. It's really inappropriate for him to lead the juniors and juniors. Duobao, who was getting annoyed, suddenly turned his face aside. This? What does the master mean by this? Didn't you still lean towards Ao Sheng just now? It seems that I misunderstood the meaning of exalted master. Duobao suddenly fell into deep self-blame. At this time, Tongtian said again, in this way, Duobao will be the main one, and Ao Sheng will be the assistant. You brothers and sisters will lead the brothers and sisters to familiarize themselves with the Kunlun environment together. Duobao, hey! Ao Sheng, Ale! At this moment, the 2 brothers once again looked at each other. A 45-degree smile appeared on Duobao's chubby face. As for Ao Sheng, it was a look of complete despair. Master, he's actually enlightened. He actually wants to use senior brother Duobao to suppress me. Pfft, Duobao's heavy body is pressing on him, how can I? Bah, wrong. This senior brother Duobao has such a violent temper, how can this little dragon bear it? Duobao, your junior brother Ao Sheng has improved a lot this time, but after all, his practice time is still short and he is very young. You should take good care of him. Tongtian seemed to think that Duobao couldn't understand, so he specially gave him a "you understand" look. At this moment, Duobao, who was originally depressed, let out a long breath. Yes, exalted master. At this moment, Duobao is cool. Tongtian looked at Ao Sheng's sad face, and was very happy in his heart. But then he looked serious, and said, in a few days, those two fat men from the west will come to Mt Kunlun. As a teacher, I will not take them seriously. Duobao, fatty fat man? Master, why do you add the word death in front of fat man? However, those two dead fat guys brought a few apprentices here, I'm afraid they will make use of it. Duobao, master strikes again. I don't know if it's just an illusion, but just after Ao Sheng called him fatty in public, master seems to like to call him fatty too, but he never called Zhnt and Jiyan master uncle fatty before. Tongtian didn't know that the scars in his senior disciple's heart were expanding, so he continued, neither your senior uncle nor your second senior uncle has accepted apprentices, so this matter falls on the teacher. Duobao. The disciple is here. This matter falls on you, don't let the teacher down, understand? He patted his chest and vowed, the disciple will never disappoint you, master, and must let the disciples of Zhnt and Jiyan master uncle know how powerful we are. Well, that's good, let's take the brothers and sisters with us. Duobao was about to turn around and leave. Correct. Yes, pay. Duobao, even though something went wrong in your practice, so that the thoughts of self-importance affected the physical body, but you still have to seize the time to refine this body of fat. Duobao, this. As a fat man, he was slashed severely by the master. Ha ha ha. A laugh sounded in the hall of the Supreme Pure One. 10 days later, an auspicious cloud came from the west with great momentum and finally entered the fairyland of Mt Kunlun. Zhnt and Jiyan, here we come. P.S. It took a lot of effort to arrange this plot. The update may be delayed and there are more goals, but the plot must be smooth, interesting, and vivid. Chapter 63. Pin. 3 bells rang through Mt Kunlun. Duobao said to the group of juniors and juniors, the 10-day sermon is over, and now the distinguished guests have arrived, so brothers and sisters follow me to meet the master and uncle. 27 He did not forget to sternly warn, remember, don't be rude in front of distinguished guests. This time master entrusted this matter to his hands, and he must handle it perfectly. Wuodang, Jinling and other disciples immediately said, yes, I will obey the decree of senior brother. Duobao nodded in satisfaction, but suddenly found that there was a sound missing. Immediately looked at Ao Sheng standing behind a kind of junior and junior sister. Ao Sheng, what, do you have an opinion? Call. Seeing that Ao Sheng didn't answer, Duobao frowned even more. It is undeniable that these short 10 days were very happy days for Duobao. Under the strict order of the exalted master, Ao Sheng, a little evil dragon, could not make any waves and was suppressed by himself. Sit down if you want him to sit, and stand up if you want him to stand up. This guy won't hold him back today, will he? Ao Sheng. Here. Ao Sheng's eyes opened brightly, and then he said very naturally, please rest assured, senior brother, Ao Sheng is always ready. Well, it's great that you have this awareness. Come with me to Kunlun Palace. Duobao took the lead and drove away directly. Then Wuodang Jinling Zhao Gongming followed closely behind. At this time, Big Xiao quietly walked to Ao Sheng's side, senior brother Ao Sheng, senior brother Ao Sheng. Yung Xiao shook his head and said, Big Xiao, stop shouting, brother is asleep. Fell asleep? How is this possible? Brother Ao Sheng just responded to senior brother Duobao. Yang Xiao took out his finger and poked it lightly. Brother, don't worry, Ao Sheng is always ready. This time Yung Xiao saw the problem. The sound was indeed made by brother Ao Sheng, but his throat didn't even move. You are looking into brother Ao Sheng's eyes, look carefully. Big Xiao took a quick look, and saw that senior brother Ao Sheng's eyes were very wide open and sparkling. But, after she looked carefully, she immediately discovered the clue. Is this fake? Yung Xiao laughed lightly, then nodded, that's right, this is senior brother Ao Sheng's trick of illusion, making it look like his eyes are always open, but in fact he has been asleep for at least 7 days. Yes, but... Big Xiao couldn't believe it at all, senior brother Ao Sheng can do this? Eldest brother, can't you see through it? Fortunately, senior brother Duobao thought he had firmly held senior brother Ao Sheng down. Yongxiao said, senior brother Ao Sheng has karmic merit body protection, unless you observe carefully like you can't see through his spells at all, but do you think senior brother Duobao will care about Ao Sheng so much? As for the actions of senior brother Ao Sheng, I'm afraid it's senior Shen Wang who is helping. The other imposing response is simply a small spell of automatic response. Worthy of being brother Ao Sheng, what can I do? I am the number one laziness. Sure enough, in Ao Sheng's hair, the ginseng whiskers suddenly shook. Ah, this. Bixiao, convinced. Worthy of being brother Ao Sheng. Yongxiao said, pick up senior brother and let's go. However, master and uncle, hey, let's just stand at the end. I hope the master and uncle will not pay attention to brother Ao Sheng. A golden cloud is slowly coming from the west, pressing down on the cloud beyond Mt Kunlun. Afterwards, Zhnt and Ji Yin, who were full of sorrow and bloated, came out first. Behind them, followed by a group of disciples, each bowing their heads, giving people a sense of incomparable humility. At this time, the Duobao group led by 3 pure ones has come out. As soon as the two sides met, the two fat men had already said, Zhnt, Ji Yin, led the disciples to meet brother 3 pure ones. The disciple Chi Chi behind them shouted respectfully, disciple sees the 3 masters. 3 pure ones immediately returned the salute, I have seen the 2 juniors. The grand pure one glanced at the people behind Zhnt and Ji Yin, and said, the disciples of the juniors are really extraordinary, with outstanding talents. Zhnt hastily smiled bitterly, and said, how can my Western world compare to the Eastern world? They can be praised by their seniors, and they are top-notch in my West, but if they are compared with the talents in the East, they are unsightly. Yuanqi said politely, brother Zhnt, they will be valued by you, they will never be inferior. Okay, don't say polite words here, the 2 juniors come to my Kunlun palace to drink tea, Duobao, you greet all Western juniors, don't lose your courtesy. Duobao said respectfully, yes, uncle. Zhnt didn't turn his head, but said, this is Duobao, the eldest disciple of Uncle Tongtian, you need to learn more from senior brother Duobao, and you must not show any disrespect. Got it? Yes, exalted master. Duobao took his own junior and western disciples and headed towards the back mountain. At this moment, Tongtian frowned suddenly, his eyes fixed on Ao Sheng who was walking slowly surrounded by ladies of the 3 firmaments, and then his lips twitched. At this moment, I was gnashing my teeth in my heart. Oh, good that you are not pregnant. The 3 pure ones stepped into the Kunlun palace, and then the 5 sat down together. Brother the Grand Pure One, Brother Yuanqi, Brother Tongtian, this time the teacher summoned me and others to go to Xiao Palace because of the remnants of the demon god. Do the 3 brothers have any clues? The Grand Pure One shook his head and said, it is not easy for the demon god to avoid the teacher Jade Plate of Good Fortune, I am afraid that he needs to become a saint and perfect heavenly Dao to monitor. Ji Yin said at this time, senior brother, I happen to have a room. 3 pure ones and 2 saints of the West cut straight to the point and started the discussion of the word. At this time, the back mountain of Mt Kunlun. Duobao greeted the Western disciples and came to the beautiful, quiet and elegant water pool. 0. Seeking flowers 0. Duobao smiled and asked cordially, how do you address the juniors? First a fat man saluted Duobao, brother, my name is Maitreya. My name is Kitagarba. Mahasthamaprapta has seen the brother. Wuming Liulai, I pay my respects to senior brother and fellow senior brothers. Disciple Sunlight, Moonlight, met senior brother. Seeing how knowledgeable this Western Buddhism disciple is, Duobao nodded in satisfaction. He smiled lightly and introduced his brothers and sisters to the disciples in the West, said, this is my junior sister Wudang, Jinling, Gongming, Shiji, Yungxiao Bixiao Kaiangxiao, and Ao Sheng. The other disciples are nothing, remember. But when it came to Ao Sheng, brother, please rest assured, Ao Sheng is always ready. A pimple suddenly popped up on Duobao's forehead, thinking in his heart, Ao Sheng seems to have yelled this sentence just now. But now is not the time to care about this little dragon, he said lightly, Ao Sheng, don't be presumptuous in front of distinguished guests. Ao Sheng's voice was still coming out, Bixiao on the side quickly held down senior brother Ao Sheng, and then pulled him towards the end. Xin said, Brother Ao Sheng's automatic reply is obviously not perfect. Duo Bao saw that Ao Sheng didn't make trouble, and didn't bother with him. He said politely, Junior brothers, please sit down. But at this moment, the short Mahastamaprapta suddenly bent down and asked, Dare to ask, brother, where to sit? Duo Bao glanced at Mahastamaprapta, and said to himself, Ao Sheng didn't come to cause trouble, but this Western disciple has come. He chuckled and said, as the so-called Dao method is natural, we naturally sat on the ground. Mahastamaprapta pondered for a while, then bowed respectfully to Duo Bao, Thank you, brother, for your guidance. Then he straightened his clothes and sat down again. The rest of the Western Buddhist disciples also sat upright, and said in unison, Thank you, brother, for your guidance. At this moment, Duo Bao smiled all over his face, and suddenly felt that this group of Western disciples were much cuter than his own juniors, yes, especially that Ao Sheng. Thinking of this, his eyes turned to Ao Sheng. At this time, Ao Sheng had already sat down cross-legged, his eyes were still wide open and sparkling. Wait. Previously, Duo Bao was only paying attention to the preaching, but now he finally noticed something strange. This fellow narrowed his eyes into a line in the past, how could he open them so wide today? Not good. This evil dragon is sleeping. At this moment, Maitreya, who was sitting beside Duo Bao, narrowed his eyes slightly, and then smiled on his bloated face. He turned into a blind monk, and seemed to have discovered Huadian. Senior brother Duo Bao. P.S. It is not easy to write this paragraph on the Tao. It must be interesting and forceful beyond the tradition. I specially searched for several Buddhist classic stories and included them. Little brother, the author puts more thought into it, thank you all for your subscription. Chapter 64. Maitreya waited for a while with a smile on his face. He thought that Duo Bao should answer at this time, What's the matter with the younger brother, but Duo Bao didn't. At this time, Duo Bao was staring at Ao Sheng. He. Because he was so angry that his teeth could not help but tremble, and the extremely powerful and domineering vitality began to escape one by one. Hateful, really too hateful. Originally, I thought that in the past 10 days, I had already dealt with that little evil dragon of Ao Sheng, made him obedient, listened to the sermon with peace of mind and listened to my command, and turned Ao Sheng into a clown. But now he understands that I, Duo Bao, am the one. At this moment, he was stupid and angry. At this moment Wuodang shouted to him, Brother, junior brother Maitreya is calling for you. Duo Bao's angry face forced a smile. Junior brother Maitreya, what advice do you have? Maitreya pretended that 190 didn't see Duo Bao's gaffe, and just asked with a smile, Senior brother Duo Bao, I have a question for you. You say. Duo Bao tried to draw his attention away, but the corners of his eyes still refused to retract, and he was still staring at Ao Sheng. This little evil dragon is hateful, hateful. Maitreya asked, Brother, what is Tao? Hearing this sentence, Duo Bao finally withdrew his attention completely, because he knew that these cute Western juniors were finally coming to find fault. Although Duo Bao is very optimistic about them at this time, in fact he is still on guard against these people in his heart. Discussing is tantamount to finding fault. If this is not clear, then he is really not qualified to be Tongtian's first disciple. And these 3 simple words are definitely top-level tricky questions. What is Tao? Duo Bao naturally has its own Dao method in mind. He was about to speak, but suddenly he had a plan. Junior brother Maitreya, my junior brother Ao Sheng has always had unique insights on the question of Taoism, so let him explain it to you. Ao Sheng, you little evil dragon, don't you dare to sleep under my nose? Humph, I'll make you look ugly in public. Maitreya smiled lightly and said, in that case, Maitreya will thank brother Ao Sheng first. This time around, everyone's eyes were on Gai Sheng. Ao Sheng still has that sparkling appearance, appearing calm and composed. Bixiao couldn't stand it anymore, she smiled awkwardly but politely, and then gave Ao Sheng a hard pinch. This time, it used mana. However, Bixiao discovered that he couldn't unscrew his brother's dragon skin. She watched the birth of brother Ao Sheng, who was obviously a fairy at that time. Now I can't move him anymore. But at this moment, Bixiao didn't have the time to express emotion, she became more and more anxious, and directly transmitted voice, Senior brother, Senior brother. Yes, brother Ao Sheng this time. Outside the Kunlun Palace, Zhnt smiled lightly and said, "Brother Tongtian, that disciple of yours is really interesting." Although the five of them were discussing the Dao here, they all looked at the disciples. After all, what could be the result of a few of them talking to each other? The Grand Dao has been decided in each of them, and they cannot be shaken. If they fail to become a saint, no one can overwhelm anyone, unless it is to separate life and death. Then, we can only look at the disciples. But Zhnt never expected that Tongtian would have such a top-grade disciple. Tongtian's complexion is very unfriendly. At this time, the Grand Pure One spoke to resolve the embarrassment. "My nephew is lazy, but I made you laugh at me, brother," he said. "Sheng, the honored guest is asking you something, why are you so rude?" The Grand Pure One called Ao Sheng directly, and Ao Sheng, who had squinted his eyes, opened them suddenly, full of energy. Of course, judging from the superficial visual effect, his eyes were always open and never closed. The Uncle Grand Pure One still loves him, and told Ao Sheng what happened when he woke up Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng didn't panic at all, he tidied up his clothes. Duobao smiled, and said again, "Ao Sheng, the uncle told you not to be rude, why don't you hurry up and answer Maitriya's question?" Ao Sheng said, "Brother, I have already answered." Duobao's expression froze. "Ao Sheng, stop talking nonsense, what did you say?" Ao Sheng rolled his eyelids and even stretched himself. This fellow Maitreya asked, "What is Tao, is it?" Maitreya chuckled lightly, "That's right, I'd like to ask my brother to clear up my doubts." "Ao Sheng, I have answered you with actions, but you still don't understand." At this time, the uncle's voice came again, "Sheng, since you are preaching, please speak clearly." The voice of the Grand Pure One was unhurried, even with a gentle smile. Of course he knew that it was true that Ao Sheng was slacking off to sleep just now, but he also saw that this little thing might have already dealt with it. "Yes, uncle." Ao Sheng talked eloquently at this time. "What is Tao?" After the profound teachings of the two masters and my master, the disciple finally has a clear understanding. Praise the leader before doing things, and have a leader before loading beer. This is a very useful survival skill that employees have learned under the tragic social situation of being overwhelmed by the living environment. Although Ao Sheng is against this skill in his heart, it has to be said that this is really the way to survive in society. Even here in the great primordial world. He continued, "Man follows earth, earth follows heaven, heaven follows Dao, Dao method is natural." Originally, everyone thought that this trivial matter was just a temporary make-up. However, as soon as these words came out, even the saints also sank their faces. The Grand Pure One, this way is the law in my heart. Yuanqi and Tongtian, when did I say this to this little guy? Ao Sheng looked around, seeing that the shocking effect had reached full marks, he suddenly thought softly, "Fortunately, Lao Zi reads a lot of philosophy. Duobao, I wanted to sleep well, but I was forced to show off." "What do you mean, Dao method is natural?" This question is not from Maitreya, but from the Grand Pure One Master. Ao Sheng, this nephew, is really good. Even pretending to beep did not forget to give the credit to the uncle and master. Of course, he really wanted to know what Ao thought about this. Ao Sheng thought for a while, but he didn't panic, and said solemnly, "Road to road, very avenue, boom." As soon as these 6 words were uttered, there was a loud explosion on the top of Mt Kunlun. However, what fell was not thunder, but a golden divine light. The divine light is like training, and it is like a 3.1 flying snake and golden dragon, slowly falling. The whole Mt Kunlun is actually shining because of this, showing the aura of the ancestor of the supreme profound sect. The Grand Pure One, who has always been an ancient well, is shocked in my heart at this moment. Heavenly Dao has feelings, Heavenly Dao has feelings. Ao Sheng's words seem to be incomparably compatible with him and perfectly integrated with his spirit. But, the most important thing is that these words seem to directly point to the essence of Dao in his heart, and he can be recognized by Heavenly Dao, and has a history of boundless good fortune. Under everyone's attention, the karmic merit soaring snake golden dragon made a turn on the top of the mountain, and then went directly towards Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng stood upright, looked up at the golden light, and greeted the golden light as if on a pilgrimage. At this moment, there is no doubt that he is the real protagonist. This heavenly Dao golden light finally began to merge with Ao Sheng, and his breath soared again. P.S. I will complete yesterday's update in the morning. Please subscribe. Chapter 65. Cackling. This is the sound of Duobao gnashing his teeth. Fortunately, Duobao is now the golden immortal of supreme unity. The golden tooth is immortal, otherwise the tooth would have been crushed. Originally, I wanted the little thing Ao Sheng to make a fool of myself, but I never thought that instead of making a fool of myself, this little thing would make a big splash. Just look at the present, the golden snakes surround him, and the golden fairy Chi Luck flashes with radiance. In addition, he himself has the guardian of the karmic merit golden dragon, which made Ao Sheng once again dyed with a layer of incomparable, Tianhujin. This karmic merit Tang snake comes fast, but it disperses slowly. It took enough time for Ao Sheng to enjoy half a cup of tea before the golden light converged directly. After reaping the benefits, Ao Sheng immediately bowed to his master uncle, second master uncle and master. Disciple Ao Sheng, thank you master, second master and master for your teaching. At this moment, the three pure ones turned into old actors at the same time. After looking at each other, their faces remained unchanged. Tongtian showed an indifferent but indifferent smile, waved his hands and said kindly, there is no need to be too polite, our teaching is just one side, what is more important is your own understanding. Today, your words can be recognized by Heavenly Dao, and it is also your own practice. The original dull mood was swept away in an instant. At the moment Tongtian is not 04 but he did not blame Ao Sheng, and even wanted to give him a like every day. This apprentice, well received. Ao Sheng hurriedly followed up with the words, Master often said that the teacher leads the door, and the practice is in the individual. The disciple is adhering to this admonition, and dare not forget to work hard at all times. Tongtian nodded again and said with a smile, good. He thought to himself, humph, this little thing is still as cunning as ever, I feel like I have taught him these principles. He waved his hand, okay, let's continue. It's rare for juniors from the west to come to Kunlun. You and your senior brother should teach them well. Ao Sheng nodded respectfully, and then looked at senior brother Duobao, brother, you continue, you have worked hard. After finishing speaking, Ao Sheng continued to sit back in place, as motionless as a mountain. At this time, Duobao finally let go of his fang of golden immortal of supreme unity, and Pingxia lost his emotions. At this moment, he hates and even hates this little thing Ao Sheng even more. But there is no way, Duobao can only perform with his best for the performance that should be coordinated. Duobao's plump face calmed down, looked at Maitreya and asked, Junior brother Maitreya, do you have any questions? Maitreya took a deep look at Ao Sheng, showing his signature kind smile. Senior brother Ao Sheng's Dao method is profound and surpasses us, but it is absolutely beyond our reach. Ao Sheng chuckled and said, actually, our elder brother is even better. The corner of Duobao's mouth twitched, and he thought, this damn kid. The underlying meaning of Ao Sheng's words is, my elder brother is even better, but I just look down on you guys. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but when they were talking politely, a skylark suddenly flew over from the sky. This little bird is so beautiful that it is unique even in Kunlun, where there are countless rare and exotic birds. Xiao Ziyi behind Ao Sheng couldn't help shouting in surprise, Sir, what a beautiful spirit bird. She was originally the transformation of the purple water chestnut flower, and she was also named Ziyining by the Qing dynasty. It has remained within the halls of the Supreme Pure One ever since. Tongtian originally wanted to grant her the status of an outer disciple, but she insisted on staying by Ao Sheng's side as a maid to repay Ao Sheng's favor. She was originally a spirit flower incarnation, and she was born with affinity. The spirit bird felt her call, and flew down slowly from the high sky. But at this moment, a jet-black shadow flashed past quickly, shooting directly towards the spirit bird. This black shadow is actually a ferocious falcon with golden feathers. Although this falcon is young and just born, he has lived in MT Kunlun all year round, and he also has spirituality. This speed is absolutely terrifying. Seeing that the magpie was about to be hunted and killed by the falcon, Xiao Ziyi couldn't bear it. But at this time, a soft laugh came, Sister Ningxuang, don't panic, watch my tricks. But Chiji who was sitting on the other side stood up, she lightly tossed her palm, and a handkerchief flew across the sky. This handkerchief, at first glance, is very ordinary, it seems to be supported by ordinary coarse cloth. But in an instant, clouds and dragons rose up around the handkerchief, thumping continuously. But in the blink of an eye, the handkerchief was already in the air, directly wrapping the fierce eagle, preventing it from moving. Ao Sheng looked at this scene and thought, this is the Bagwalong Sipa. He couldn't help but look at Shiji twice. In fact, Ao Sheng is also very reflective of Shiji. If I remember correctly, she was the most innocent and pitiful one in the investiture of the gods' battle. He practiced well at home, but his disciple was shot and killed by Neza's flying arrow. She was just going to seek justice, but was killed by Daoist Tai, and the true spirit went to investiture of gods. Ao Sheng doesn't know what will happen to Shiji in the future, but Shiji at this time is like a village girl, although she is not extremely beautiful, her heart is pure. The ominous eagle was taken away by the gossip dragon's handkerchief, so the little colorful bird was naturally unharmed. Finally, it fluttered its wings and landed in Zia Ningshuang's palm. A beauty paired with a spirit bird is really a beautiful picture. Shiji was going to use his mana, directly tempered the fierce bird, and then continued to listen to senior brother Duobao and the guests from the west. But at this time, that western disciple Li Yulai suddenly spoke, this senior sister, wait a minute. Shiji suddenly stopped his hands and looked at him. Senior sister. Shiji was rather flattered, after all, she has not been a member of MT Kunlun for a long time, and her own cultivation is relatively poor, and her aptitude is not good. She immediately said, Senior brother Li Yulai, what advice do you have? Na Li Yulai walked in front of Shiji, but asked, dare to ask senior sister, how do you plan to deal with this fierce eagle? Shiji murmured, this fierce eagle dared to kill in front of us, so I killed her. Compassion and intolerance appeared on the glazed face, and he said, Senior sister Shiji, this fierce eagle culled and killed this colorful sparrow just to feed its hunger. This is natural selection, what's wrong with it? It's like this colorful sparrow will hunt and kill insects in order to feed its hunger. Do you think it makes sense? Shiji's complexion changed again and again, she felt that what brother Li Yulai said made sense. But deep down in his heart, he felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell. At this time, Zia Ningshuang suddenly mustered up her courage and asked angrily, 517 then according to what senior brother said, should we just watch this little colorful sparrow being eaten by this fierce eagle? Na Li Yulai smiled lightly and said, since this bird flew in front of us and brought joy to the eyes of this junior sister, it is extremely cruel to witness her being devoured like this. His smile became more and more unpredictable, and the surroundings unconsciously fell silent. Yawn. Suddenly, a burst of yawns interrupted the calm atmosphere. It was Ao Sheng who rubbed his eyes and yawned. Originally, Ao Sheng was too lazy to speak on such occasions. After all, he had been passively pretending to beep just now, and it was actually almost the same. But there was no way, her own Xiao Ziai was involved. With a deep smile, he asked, Junior brother Li Yulai, what do you want? Lu Li was about to speak, but heard Ao Sheng say again, cut off your own flesh and feed it to the eagle. At this moment, Li Yulai suddenly had a feeling of being choked. The other party, actually robbed me of my words. Ao Sheng glanced at him, and thought, little brother, it's an old routine to cut meat and feed it to eagles. At this time, Ao Sheng wanted to say a word, next, it is the classic moment of pretending to be beeping. P.S. I will strive to write 4 more updates. In addition, cutting meat and feeding eagles is a classic Buddhist story. The author is not trying to deny anything, but is using this plot to write a plot, proficient in fiction, and has no other meaning. Sorry. The period of the visit from the west will pass quickly, and it will be completely over in 1.5 chapters at most. This is to plant karma with the west. Chapter 66. Li Yulai was stunned for a while, and finally found her own rhythm again. He said very politely and happily, it turns out that senior brother Ao Sheng also has the idea of sacrificing himself for others, Lu Li admires it. Don't, you can admire it later. Junior sister Shiji, come here. Ao Sheng waved to Shiji. Shiji was very clever and immediately released the golden falcon. The falcon, which was originally extremely mighty, was trembling violently at this moment, trembling like a quail. Ao Sheng stroked his head, and then said, Junior brother Li Yulai, just do what you want to do. That Li Yulai really smiled slightly, he looked at the little kaik in Zia Ningshuang's hand, and then opened his palm, and there was a knife in his palm. He said to the golden eagle, Falcon, Falcon, I know you have a spirit too. You want to eat this colorful sparrow, but I want to keep it alive. In order to save you from starving, I will cut off a piece of meat and give it to you. While talking, he actually started to slice flesh from his arm. Ao Sheng looked at Li Yulai's calm face but covered in blood, and actually admired it a little. Western people, although Western Buddhism has not even been established yet, but they really have a lot of vigor. In fact, no matter whether it is before time travel or as Great Primordial Ao Sheng, he is not hostile to Buddhism. Although he does not recognize many teachings of Buddhism, and even disdains them, he also admits that Buddhism does have merits. After all, in the world before reincarnation, the energy of Buddhism has a long history and there are many believers, which makes sense. Apart from other things, the soul of a person who is truly devoted to Buddha is the real madman. When Ao Sheng heard his name, he knew that this junior in front of him might become the medicine master glazed Buddha in the future. Although he has never become a Buddha now, his mind is enough to make people sure the cutting of the flesh this time is not to condense and derive flesh and blood with mana, but to cut one's own flesh in a real way. Brother Ao Sheng, can you see if this piece of meat is the same as that colorful sparrow? Oh, yes. Ao Sheng looked at the golden eagle, and suddenly asked, Falcon, Falcon, have you ever eaten the meat of a fairy before? Falcon shook his head obediently. Ao Sheng said, smell and see, this meat is fragrant or not. Li Yulai is now in the realm of the golden immortal, and a piece of flesh and blood is unimaginably attractive to such creatures. Although the golden eagle tried to shake his head, his longing eyes had already betrayed him. A contemptuous smile appeared on the corner of Ao Sheng's mouth. See it. Li Yulai frowned. He looked at brother Maitreya, and his Mahasthamaprapta and Kitagarbha. But none of them thought what Ao Sheng was going to say. Duobao snorted softly. He originally wanted to reprimand Ao Sheng to say quickly, don't play charades. But he changed his mind, no, although this dragon is lazy, extremely vile and disobedient, but that mouth is really powerful. If I urge him and wait until he utters some grand truth, wouldn't it appear that I am ignorant? Duobao was so angry right now, he obviously wanted to spit on him, but he didn't dare to spit on him. Li Yulai respectfully asked for advice, Ao Sheng brother please teach me. Ao Sheng sighed, hey, you only see the appearance of cutting your own flesh, the colorful sparrow survives, and the falcon is not starved, but you don't know the cause and effect at all. This falcon has never eaten the flesh and blood of an immortal at all, it is just a rare spiritual bird, but you also saw the longing in his eyes just now. Today, he ate your flesh, and when his cultivation level improves in the future, he will hunt and kill more immortal flesh and blood. Li Yulai, have you ever thought about how much your so-called kind thoughts will cause today? Li Yulai's entire body froze in place. Ao Sheng increased his voice, which can be described as deafening, what you call good is the beginning of evil. I heard that the two master uncles in the West emphasize the theory of cause and effect. But you, where did you leave the cause and effect? The karma between Zhnt and Jiyan is known, and Ao will never have a problem if he just blows wildly. Because everyone knows the Great Primordial nowadays, so Zhnt likes to go around with everyone, and when they meet, they just say, Daoist friend, you have a destiny with the West. This thing has cause and effect with me. Ao Sheng looked at him with an extremely disappointed expression, and said again, we killed the falcon to keep the bird alive. This is a life for another life. This has not changed the food chain in the first place. But, you, hey. This sigh finally broke Li Yulai's defense completely. Li Yulai also ignored the wound in her hand and burst into tears. He cried so painfully that he knelt on the ground in the end, kowtowing to the top of Mt Kunlun. Exalted Master, disciple is guilty, disciple is guilty. Ao Sheng looked at the future glazed medicine Buddha, but there were not many disturbances in his heart. At least I was the top debater in school back then, otherwise how could I have become an elite salesman? Kunlun Palace money, Zhnts expression was serious. He looked at Tongtian and said, Brother Tongtian has taken in a good apprentice. Jiyan also praised, this theory of cause and effect is refreshing. From my point of view, he has a great relationship with me in the West Klang. Tongtian didn't say a word, and the green grass sword was slightly unsheathed. Yuanshi didn't speak, but his brows were condensed, and suddenly a jade light was looming. Only the Grand Pure One is the most indifferent, just smiling. Tongtian said, Hee, Jiyan, poor Daoist gives you a chance to reorganize the language. Both Yuanshi and the Grand Pure One remained unchanged. Although they didn't speak, they still had an attitude. This Ao Sheng, the three brothers are still trying to find a way to poach the wall, you two outsiders are also here to make ideas. In the face of such shameless people, we must cut the mess with a sharp knife. X. The reaction of the three pure ones was so great, it seemed that they were not allowed to leave Kunlun alive. Ji Yin's chubby lips trembled, and he said awkwardly, I saw it wrong, I saw it wrong, I didn't have a chance, I didn't have a chance. It's not that I, Ji Yin, are not firm, it's that brother Dao is too scary. Li Yulai was in pain all the time, and even her Dao heart fluctuated. Mate Raya at the side saw that something was wrong, and immediately opened up his mana, directly knocking him out. If it continues like this, Li Yulai's Dao heart will even be shattered. Maitriya's original smiling face was put away, and the anger was burning with anger. At this moment, Kitagarbha on the side stood up directly and shouted, Ao Sheng, you have a poisonous mind, Nyoli district. Ao Sheng shrugged his shoulders, then looked at Duobao, brother, they want to bully me. Duobao? You almost broke others, how can people bully you? Besides, my relationship with you is not good, why are you telling me this? Ao Sheng, you little evil dragon, loli, tui. Kitagarbha was so angry that his chest heaved up and down, and he finally shouted, Brother Ao Sheng, brother, I want to discuss the Tao with you. You tell my elder brother that he is better than me. Brother, you are better than me, right? Duobao, dog, set me up again. But, at this moment, Duobao, how should I answer? Solve. P.S. I got home at 7 o'clock, ate a bowl of oatmeal, and started writing until now. If set, Buddhism will temporarily end in the next chapter. The content of the next chapter is quite interesting and comfortable. Please subscribe, thank you for your support. In addition, my eyes suffered from sty due to long-term eye use, and the doctor told me to pay attention to rest and less use of eyes, miserable. Chapter 67. Duobao, it's too difficult. There is no doubt that he is stronger than Ao Sheng, of course. But the problem is that once I admit it, Ao Sheng immediately blames me. Of course I won't be afraid of this Western apprentice, but the problem is, I became the one who helped this little evil dragon block the knife, no way. But, if I don't admit it. Damn, how is this possible? How can I Duobao, dignified golden immortal of supreme unity, not compare to Ao Sheng, this little evil dragon? Fart. Duobao was tangled left and right, and countless thoughts flashed through in an instant. But Ao Sheng didn't give Duobao a chance to answer. You see, my elder brother directly acquiesced, and my younger brother and younger sister and Wudang senior sister also agreed. Brother Kitagarbha, you have to talk about the Tao and ask for advice, my big brother. Ao Sheng, did a good job. He also glanced at senior brother Duobao and raised his eyebrows. Senior brother Duobao, don't you disdain to debate with Western juniors. Duobao, junior brother, if you have any questions, you can tell me. After thinking about it again and again, he still felt that this time, Ao Sheng was taken advantage of first, and the big deal would be to use it as a favor in the future, and let this guy pay the price. Senior brother Duobao, I have doubts in my heart, I just ask senior brother Ao Sheng. At this moment, this young Kitagarbha was full of anger in his heart, and only wanted to use the debate to avenge Li Yulai. Ao043 shrugged, senior brother Duobao, he doesn't like you. Ao Sheng, shut up. Duobao was really annoyed by Ao Sheng. Sowing discord is not as blatant as you. But at this time, he did not look good at Kitagarbha, he snorted coldly, and said calmly, since Kitagarbha despises being a brother, you might as well talk about what you want to argue about. Kitagarbha thought for a while, and then asked, Brother Dao, you just said that people follow the earth follows the sky, and the sky follows the Tao. But I say that mind, body, and sentient beings are all empty. The true nature of phenomena is empty. There is no enlightenment, no confusion, no sage, no ordinary, no giving, no receiving. Everything is empty. As soon as he said this, even the sky suddenly sank. There was even a faint divine light flickering indistinctly. Unexpectedly, it's another speech that can shock Tian Ting. The Grand Pure One opened his mouth slightly, and then looked at Zhnt, junior brother, you taught this well. The Grand Pure One sees it clearly, and this comprehension is probably Zhnt's own. For this debate, the disciples were directly asked to cheat. Zunt lowered his head slightly, and said, Brother misunderstood, I just made some suggestions. But Kitagarbha is wise. Tongtian, didn't you say that compared to the Eastern disciples, they are worthless? CO author, why don't you come to Kunlun to brag? Tongtian, the words of this little evil dragon are really bohemian and refreshing. Zhnt. Ah, when did Daoist Tongtian become so caressing? The Grand Pure One did not go on, because whether it was passed on by Zunti is no longer important. What matters is how Ao Sheng or Duo Bao responds. At this moment, the celestial phenomenon has faintly emerged. If the celestial phenomenon is allowed to fall in Mt Kunlun because of the Western disciples, then the three pure ones will naturally lose face, and even the disciples of the Kunlun lineage will go out in the future. Will lose face. So, here's the big deal. Duo Bao saw this floating celestial phenomenon, and immediately realized that the situation was not good. This group of disciples in the West really came prepared. This question, I am afraid that even he thinks it has no basis. What to do, what to do? How should I refute him? This Tao is really unfathomable. This, must not be Kittigarba's own realization, absolutely impossible. However, this is not important anymore. Once the sky falls, the Kunlun lineage will lose face. By the way, use Ao Sheng's way to refute him. Ao Sheng's Tao can make heavenly Dao fall to karmic merit Teng Snake, it is definitely above it. No, no. Just because Ao Sheng has already said it. But when Duo Bao is impossible. A disdainful voice sounded, Ha, Tui. Ao Sheng walked up to Kittigarba, jumped up and slapped Kittigarba. There's no way, I'm young, I didn't control well when transforming, and my height is not strong enough, so I can only jump up. Luckily, Ao Sheng can jump high enough that he doesn't just punch other people's chests. But regardless of his height, this slap was solid, and it was the hardest time after Ao Sheng traveled through and became a golden immortal. Then Kittigarba never thought that Ao Sheng would actually, do this, and he didn't use the Dharma body protection, and flew backwards under this slap. Boom! He was smashed directly into the huge boulder, and was embedded in it abruptly. Of course, with this slap, the looming celestial phenomenon also disappeared directly. Ao Sheng, what are you doing? Duo Bao growled. In any case, the other party is a guest. You can't argue, but you actually do it directly? Crazy, this little evil dragon is so rampant that he is crazy. And Maitreya, as well as Moonlight Sunlight and Mahasthamaprapta rolled up their sleeves, unfolding their mana and preparing to do it immediately. What's more, Kittigarba roared suddenly, his body exploded and turned over, and his coat was directly torn apart by his muscles. It turned out that this Kittigarba was gentle and elegant on the surface, but under the wide Taoist robe, there was actually a body of tendons hidden. Ao Sheng, I will fight to the death with you. He is really angry. In front of many senior brothers, in front of the teacher, he was actually slapped away by the other party. What a shame, what a shame. Ao Sheng ignored Kittigarba and said, no enlightenment, no delusion, no sage, no ordinary, no giving, no receiving, everything is empty. Pfft, then where did you get such a temper? Kittigarba, who had just rushed in front of Ao Sheng, suddenly stopped. Maitreya, Mahasthamaprapta and other Western disciples also became dull at the same time. Not to mention them, even the disciples of Duo Bao and Mt Kunlun were all amazed, as if enlightened. Since everything is empty, where is the temper? Ao Sheng's slap directly shattered the Tao of Kittigarba. The disappearance of the celestial phenomenon was not because Kittigarba was sent flying out, but because the Tao, for Ao Sheng, was broken. Above the Kunlun Taoist palace, that Zunti suddenly laughed, he, amazing, brother Tongtian, your disciple is really amazing. This time, my Western disciples lost. Discussing the Dao with the three senior brothers this time has made my saint's path more transparent and bright, and I have been taught. With his sleeves rolled up, a golden cloud directly rolled up the unconscious Liulai, the demented muscular man Kittigarba and a group of other disciples. Farewell. Jinyun went west and did not stay behind. Ao Sheng watched the people in the west go away, but began to mutter, my dear, it turns out that Bodhisattva Kittigarba is actually walking the path of saving all sentient beings with muscles. Hey, it's fresh and tight. A slanting sun shone on Ao Sheng's body. At this moment, he became the most beautiful brother in Kunlun under the sunset. Shine. As the sun sets, the night of human race comes again. Inside the Nuwa holy temple, Fu Xi was frowning. Qingling and Kengwu stood not far from him, waiting quietly. After a long time, Fu Xi sighed, oh, but I still need to call Ao Sheng over to discuss it. P.S. Baidu has the phrase that everything is empty in Buddhism. Then the movie The Legend of the Patriarch Bodhidharma also has this sentence, but the most fundamental source I found is the illusion of Buddhism, everything is empty, okay, or Baidu. The remaining chapters may be late, or tomorrow morning. Because the next big plot will be the sanctified chapter. Chapter 68. The holy temple was silent for a long time, but Qingling finally broke the silence. Holy Envoy Fu Xi, will you report this matter directly to Goddess Nuwa? In fact, Qingling already offended Fu Xi a little by asking such a question. After all, Fu Xi is the envoy of the human race. Although she is the first human race, she still has to listen to Fu Xi's words. Fortunately, Fu Xi is generous and will not haggle over this matter. He thought for a while, then smiled softly, and said, "No need, Saintess Nuwa is now opening up heaven and earth in the chaos, so don't be distracted. I will discuss this matter with the envoy Ao Sheng. You and King Qian go out first, Chang Ye is manman, but you have to be careful to protect the clansmen." "Yes, follow the orders of the envoy." Seeing Qingling and Kang Wu leave, Fu Xi sighed again. It seems that the human race bloodline will become rarer and rarer. Today human race faces several thorny issues. First, the problem of blood vessels. The first generation of human race, everyone has innate spirit. Although these human races are not as good as Qingling and Kang Guyu, they are not much inferior to many powerful creatures in the Great Primordial. Even without the protection of his holy envoy, the body strength of the Great Primordial can be considered above average. When the second generation of human race was born, Fu Yi discovered that the innate blood of human race seemed to be a little weaker. It's just that Fu Xi was busy with many things in human race at that time, so he didn't have too many scruples. But now, the third generation of human race is born. The innate bloodline of the third generation human race is lower than that of the second generation, even much worse. Fu Xi is unparalleled in wisdom. After he really paid attention to this point, he has realized the sun point, Nuwa ends, 9 generations end. According to his deduction, after the 9th generation of human race, I am afraid that there will be no innate aura after birth. For today's Great Primordial, life without innate aura would be difficult to survive. As far as today is concerned, the first generation of human race lives in empty buzz ocean without the slightest pressure, and is even very adaptable, able to practice quickly. However, in the second generation of human race, the practice is not so fast. This is because the congenital aura is insufficient and cannot adapt at all. At this time, the third generation human race, who had just been born, could barely survive in empty buzz ocean. The second is Chang Ye. Originally, this problem no longer existed, but with the birth of the third generation human race, this problem became prominent. P.S. The time of the Great Primordial and the current day and night issues will be covered later. The time of the birth of human race can only be said to be details. Don't worry about it. To be reasonable, I was really going to edit it yesterday, such as the first generation, how long is human race pregnant, how is the second generation human race, and finally, forget it, let's take it with the Japanese pen. Because of the insufficiency of congenital blood, the ability to adapt is also greatly weakened. Many third generation human races who were born soon died in Chang Ye. The third is external factors. The feud between the witch clan and the demon race is getting worse. It was only a few days since Emperor Jun and Tai Yi returned from Zi Xiao Palace, and the court's arrangement for MT Buzaoshan has obviously become sharper. In response to demon race's actions, witch clans' behavior became more and more intense. Some radical witch clans even put forward the domineering slogan of cleaning out all creatures that are not witch clans within the scope of MT Buzaoshan. It is obviously the first sacred mountain of the Great Primordial, but at this time, there are wars and beacons everywhere. Although the area where human race lived at this time was promised by the witch clan, it has clearly suffered the impact. Fu Xi has decided, human race will migrate. However, human race migration is a big deal after all, he decided to discuss it with Ao Sheng. Although this little dragon is lazy, there is no doubt that his reputation in human race is very high. Yes, taller than myself. After all, the spiritual roots of the first generation human race and a small part of the second generation human race came because of him. Mt Kunlun, the Hall of the Supreme Pure One. Tongtian sat cross-legged on the meditation mat, didn't speak, and just closed his eyes. Finally someone broke the silence. Master, this disciple knows his mistake. The person who spoke was none other than the Supreme Pure One's #1 senior brother, Duobao. Tongtian then slowly opened his eyes, and asked, "What's wrong?" Duobao pondered, and said, "The disciple shouldn't do nothing and let the Western disciples stand out." Tongtian looked at Duobao, smiled without saying a word. Duobao gritted his teeth, and said, "Disciple, you shouldn't resort to external force to suppress fellow disciples. Why do you act like this when you know you're wrong?" Duobao straightened his head, looked up at his exalted master, and said, "For one thing, the disciples want to hear the subtleties of the Western Dao method, and want to confirm each other's existence, so they let them talk. Secondly, junior brother Ao Sheng is young and has an unstable temperament. He actually fell asleep during the discussion and played with this little trick. He really needs to be disciplined." Tongtian didn't comment on him, but just looked at Ao Sheng. Then, the veins popped up on his forehead suddenly. "Ao Sheng." "Yes. Didn't sleep or sleep, master." Ao Sheng, who was still bent over and lowered his head, suddenly raised his head, rubbing his eyes with one hand and wiping his mouth with the other. "Hey, fortunately no halazi was shed. 0, asking for flowers." He was in high spirits and said, "The disciple is really listening attentively. Just now the senior brother said that he knew he was wrong, and he shouldn't suppress me. Master, don't worry, this disciple has already forgiven him. After all, I, a disciple of the Supreme Pure One, should join the group to keep warm, right, senior brother Duobao?" "Duobao? Did Lao Zi say that just now? Well, you little evil dragon, you have a hand in taking things out of context. Also, when did Lao Zi beg your forgiveness? Hey! Bullshit cuddling and making trouble, Lao Zi now wants to hug you into the pot and cook you alive. Hey, senior brother, what do you mean by that look in your eyes? Could it be that you don't agree with my brother's clique making trouble? Master, look, the big brother is so fierce, and he even pretended to be a bully, which means he just lied to you." The corners of Duobao's mouth trembled several times, and finally he squeezed out a voice, 0 humph, that's right, what my junior brother said is that I belong to the Supreme Pure One lineage, so I should form a group and make trouble. Wu Dang was sitting in front of Ao Sheng, the corners of his mouth trembled slightly at this moment. Rao was amused by Ao Sheng because of her temperament, but fortunately, she held it back in time. Seeing Duobao gnashing his teeth, Tongtian sighed silently. He, the only big disciple who respects me, met such a lazy but clever little evil dragon with a big chi luck, and he didn't know if it was a good thing. But at this moment, Ao Sheng mumbled again, "However, senior brother is so fat, it must be very uncomfortable to squeeze in with him, I'd better just hug senior sister Wu Dang. Big brother is so fat. So fat. Fat. Ao Sheng, have I eaten your meat? What does my fat have to do with you?" At this moment, Duobao was so angry that he shivered. Tongtian couldn't stand it anymore. "Okay, shut up, master. Duobao, since you know your mistake, you should be punished. My teacher told me that you have retreated in the back mountain of Kunlun for 500 years, do you have any complaints?" Duobao lowered his head and said, "Thank you exalted master, this disciple accepts the punishment." Tongtian looked at Ao Sheng, but he clearly saw that Ao Sheng's eyes were full of longing at this time, and his pupils were almost filled with little stars. He raised his voice and said, "Ao Sheng, this time you have raised the reputation of Kunlun and frustrated the spirit of the West, so you will be rewarded." He lightly brushed his long gown, and said slowly, "I have decided after discussing with your senior uncle and your second senior uncle." Ao Sheng saw Master's 47-degree smile. "No, there is a pit. There should be a trap here." Chapter 69. Ao Sheng said weakly, "Master, can you please stop laughing? You smiled so much that I got goosebumps when I saw it." Tongtian, Ao Sheng, your senior uncle and your second senior uncle have decided to leave MT Kunlun and travel to the Great Primordial again. A while ago, didn't you have a word with your junior sister Bixiao? Come and listen to it." At this moment, Ao Sheng immediately thought of what he said. That feeling of uneasiness is becoming more and more obvious. Returning to master, what I said to junior sister Bixiao is, "Junior sister, you need to sleep more in order to grow taller, develop well, behave decently, and be tolerant." After he finished speaking, Bixiao blushed immediately. "Brother Ao Sheng, why did you say all the whispers?" Master Tongtian smiled even more cunningly. Ah, master, so you have dimples, you look good. 087 Tongtian ignored the nonsense of Ao Sheng, and said, you can't reach 1,000 miles without accumulating steps, and a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. After this meeting with Zhntg Yin, 3 pure ones felt that they could not continue to realize the Tao in Mt Kunlun. Time to do something. In fact, during this period of time, 3 pure ones put out many methods. But the first thing to rule out is the creation prove the Dao. The fundamental law of Nuwa is good fortune. For this reason, she derived creations, created man for the sky, and proved the Dao with karmic merit is her way. Not so with 3 pure ones. In their hearts, they already have a prototype of their own Dao method, but it is difficult to fully understand it for a while. When Ao Sheng heard this sentence, he knew what the reward the teacher was talking about. Ah, these 3 stinky and shameless old things, don't they want to? Tongtian had already smiled and said, Ao Sheng, you are right, for this reason, my teacher allows you to follow us and travel the great primordial together. Ah, this. Master, you still said this sentence after all. You shameless old bastards don't talk about martial arts at all. Ao Sheng, gave Mt Kunlun a big face. It's fine if you don't give me top-level spirit treasure, but you still want to fool me into running errands for you? Tongtian looked at Ao Sheng's grief-stricken expression, and showed a satisfied and carefree smile. Ha ha ha. Ao Sheng, it seems that you can't wait, you want to follow me as a teacher and your 2 uncles, great kindness. Brother Hanan Gongming said from the bottom of his heart, congratulations, senior brother. It is a heaven-defying opportunity to be released by the side of master and the 2 uncles. Congratulations, brother. If possible, he, Zhao Gongming, wished he could hug master's thigh all the time. But senior brother Ao Sheng is good, he hugged 3 at once, which is so enviable. Ao Sheng glared at him bitterly, and said angrily in his heart, congratulations der. You idiot, didn't you see my desperate expression? No wonder you were cursed to death in investiture of the gods, it's too bad. Ao Sheng had the urge to raise his middle finger, and the fingernail would poke him away. Ladies of the 3 firmaments junior sisters are also really envious. But seeing brother Ao Sheng's expression, they still couldn't help but want to laugh. Fortunately, their laughter was quite high, so they held back. As for Wu Dang, he shook his head slightly, and then patted Ao Sheng on the shoulder, junior brother Ao Sheng, congratulations. Ah, senior sister, do you mean asking for blessings? Tongtian asked, Ao Sheng, are you not happy? Master. Ao Sheng's voice dragged on. But at this moment, Ao Sheng suddenly felt something in his heart. Then there was an extra talisman in his hand. This talisman was given to him by Fu Xi when he left human race. It has no other purpose, just a sound transmission charm, which can be regarded as the video call of the great primordial version. Ao Sheng was overjoyed immediately, and shouted, Ah, master, senior Fu Xi has something to call me. Yet. Tongtian nodded. Ao Sheng immediately poured mana into it. The phantom of Fu Xi appeared in the hall of the Supreme Pure One. After he saw Tongtian, he saluted Tongtian first, I have seen senior brother Tongtian. Tongtian returned the salute, brother Fu Xi. You came to look for the apprentice, is there something wrong? Fu Xi didn't shy away, and said directly, brother Dao, there are some situations in the human race. Ao Sheng is my sister who personally made the human race. I want to discuss it with him 10 times. Tongtian was overjoyed when he heard it. Human race, okay, let's go to human race. Well, I don't want to go to human race to be lazy, but I just like the simple feeling of getting along with human race. Tongtian nodded, and said, it turns out that human race has something to do. If so, the poor Daoist will bring Ao Sheng to human race as soon as possible. He just looked down on Ao Sheng, even if the little dragon arrived at Jingxian, it would take a lot of time for him to fly to human race by himself. Fu Xi nodded again to express his thanks, Dashan, thank you brother Dao. Fu Xi's figure disappeared immediately. Ao Sheng had a relaxed and happy smile at this time, thank you, master. It's really lucky, at this critical juncture, it is still the master Fu Xi who gives his strength. Humph, after going to human race this time, let's see if I will return to Mt Kunlun. Tongtian looked at Ao Sheng and said, since Fu Xi speaks in person, it is of great importance. You clean up first, and later I will personally send you to Mt Bazaoshan as a teacher. Thank you, Master, you are so kind. Kaisen, he can be the mascot of human race again. Soon after, Kunlun made its debut. Ao Sheng saw the silhouettes of the senior uncle and the second senior uncle, and he was immediately moved. Ah, senior uncle, second senior uncle, you also come to see off the disciples. At this moment, his heart was really moved. Hey, I'm too good at this. I went to Mt Bazaoshan. Not only was Tongtian personally escorting him, but the Grand Pure One Master and Yuanshi's second master were even delivered to the gate. At this time, the second uncle Yuanshi touched Ao Sheng's head affectionately, with a smile in his eyes. At first, the uncle said, Shenger, we are not here to see you off, but to leave with you. Dang, 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 at this moment, 2.8 his brain was hit hard by the Taoist bell at the gate of Kunlun Palace. Leave with me. Tongtian concluded as a class representative, since you are going to human race, we will make human race the first stop. Anyway, we left Kunlun this time to find our own path. For this, where not to go. The caring masters and uncles decided to wait for you to deal with the matter of the human race first, and then continue to take steps towards the great primordial. At this moment, Ao Sheng is desperate. Ao Sheng, I have something to criticize, but I must never say it, it's so annoying. P.S. Flag, I always feel that I can complete the 7th watch today. The continuation of the big story begins. Readers should be able to see which part of the plot is about to start. Chapter 70. Holy Envoy of Fu Xi. A cheerful voice came into the temple, and then Qingling stepped in quickly. Fu Xi looked at her and asked, Qingling, what makes you so happy? It's the return of the Ao Sheng envoy. Fu Xi looked at her with a smile, and asked with a smile, I know. After all, Ao Sheng was called back by him, so how could he not know about it? It seems that you have a lot of confidence in Ao Sheng. For the past few days, Qingling has been frowning, looking extremely dignified. However, now, Qingling rarely showed a smile. What? Qingling was poked by Fu Xi, and immediately lowered her head. Xinyo said, well, everyone says Ao Zhenshi has better luck. Although there is only one thing Ao Sheng did when he was in human race, sleep. But that doesn't stop everyone from knowing it. Ao Sheng's contribution is definitely not just for some people in the human race to open their spiritual roots. The most important thing is that the people who have worshipped Ao Sheng have more or less good luck. From the analysis of the current situation, the more pious 04 people are from the heart, the luckier they will be. It's just a pity. Qingling suddenly sighed in his heart. His initial arrogance towards the Ao Sheng envoy seemed to have received some kind of retribution. I have never had good luck with the holy angel. She thought again, that BD Kang Guyu actually went directly to greet the envoy, damn it. Saying that they are welcoming the holy envoy is obviously just rubbing their luck. Kang Guyu, as the second human race created by goddess Nuwa, was originally not as strong as himself. But after he awakened his spiritual root, and after picking up spiritual grass, fairy fruit, vermilion fruit, and other duobao items for a while later, his current strength seems to be on the verge of catching up with Zikyu. Fu Xi chuckled, Qingling, just practice hard. Come on, follow me to greet you. According to Fu Xi's status, naturally there is no need to greet Ao Sheng. But this time, the situation is completely different. Those who escort Ao Sheng are 3 pure ones. Hey, this little thing can actually make the 3 pure ones follow him. It's no wonder my sister values him so much, and even puts the cause and effect of the human race on him. 3 pure ones Daoist friend, thank you for your hard work. Fu Xi immediately greeted him politely. While talking, his eyes have fallen on Ao Sheng. Hey? This cultivation level has improved again. This karmic merit chi luck seems to be enhanced again. From the eyes of Fu Xi's absolutely powerful senior, at this moment, Ao Sheng's body is shining with golden light, and chi luck is soaring, just like boiling oil under a burning fire. However, this trend is still very peaceful, and there is no momentum that will be burned. It's just Ao Sheng's complexion doesn't seem very good. The Grand Pure One has already stepped forward to greet Fu Xi. Fu Xi Daoist friend, the 3 of my brothers stayed in Mt Bazaoshan for a period of time, so that we could feel the legacy of God the Father. As for what you and nephew Ao Sheng are going to do, don't worry about me waiting. The words of the Grand Pure One are straightforward, the karma of the human race, they will not intervene in any case, they will not help, and of course they cannot have other thoughts. Fu Xi was still courteous, and invited the 3 pure ones with scented tea made from the spirit flower in Mt Buzaoshan, before saying goodbye to the 3 pure ones. Ao Sheng watched the 3 pure ones leave, drawing the old elders long back, and let out a long breath. Call these 3 stinky and shameless old things have finally left. It's great to feel relieved and unrestricted. Fu Xi said with a smile at this time, he, little friend Ao Sheng, you look. I really want the 3 Daoist friends to leave. Yes, no, I just couldn't bear to leave my uncle and master, so I sighed. It was so dangerous that I almost spoke my truth. Fu Xi said with a smile, this place is within my sister's temple, protected by the power of saint, and the 3 pure ones Daoist friend can't hear it. Really? Fu Xi, who has always been calm, was a little curious about what the 3 pure ones and this little dragon had gone through to make him have such an attitude. Ao Sheng looked around and saw that there was no human race around, and then sat down directly on his meditation mat with a grunt. He sighed helplessly and said, actually, it's nothing. It's just that the 2 senior uncles and my master are so enthusiastic that they actually took turns giving me homework. In fact, I really want to call them stinky and shameless, but I, Ao Sheng, am a well-educated dragon. In front of senior Fu Xi, I can't talk nonsense. But Fu Xi was taken aback, assign homework. P.S. Homework has been said since ancient times, so I didn't make a small mistake of applying modern words. With infinite pain, Ao Sheng said, that's right, the master asked me to practice 833 lines of the Grand Pure One Destiny Ju, and the second master said that I should practice the Jade Pure One Kangya method in a relatively short period of time. My master had a big fight with them, and finally let me practice the Supreme Pure One Sword Slashing Ju, the Supreme Pure One Heavenly Formation Ju, the Supreme Pure One Mind Record. Fu Xi looked at Ao Sheng. 3 Pure One's Daoist friend really has high hopes for Ao Sheng. Ao Sheng also looked at Fu Xi and blinked, Senior Fu Xi, can I start? Okay. I'm sleepy. Uncle and master this time is really abominable, obviously they can cast mana in a blink of an eye, but they deliberately spent a day or 2. The ravages of the 3 brain-feeding education made Ao Sheng's desire for sleep to the extreme at this time. He wished he could fall asleep immediately. Letting a lazy dragon accept this kind of cramming teaching, what does the boss of 3 pure ones think? Fu Xi shook his head with a smile, and finally said, Nephew Ao Sheng, it's scary, no way. Next, the topics we are going to talk about may be a little heavy. My sister has always praised you for your wisdom, and I need your advice. Number. Chapter 71. Master Uncle. Ao Sheng knocked on the stone table and said with a bitter face, based on my experience, when you say that, nothing good will happen. Fu Xi didn't deny it either, just said, it's not a simple and easy thing. It's not a good place for human race these days. He frowned, and described the current situation of human race. This time, Ao Sheng was miraculously not sleepy at all, and listened carefully from the beginning to the end. Nephew, my sister has integrated into human race with her own blood, and now she is in the same line as Chi Luck of human race. If human race is weak, she will not be very good. Do you understand? Ao Sheng nodded solemnly and said, yes, I understand. After thinking about it for a while, he keenly grasped a question, but why is the night so threatening to human race? Although the 3rd generation of human race began to show innate aura retreat, so that the body is weak. But, it's not to the point where you can't even bear the night, right? 3 generations of human race can't bear it anymore, so there are still 9 generations of human race. Fu Xi nodded appreciatively, and said, Ao Sheng, you are really smart. In fact, I only discovered this problem last night. Having said this, Fu Xi's complexion suddenly became extremely solemn. Because someone is stealing the stars. Hey! Ao Sheng grasped something keenly, and seemed to think of something. He walked out of the temple slowly, then looked up at the sky. It is not night at this moment, but in fact, whether it is day or night, the stars are always above the high sky. After watching for a while, Ao Sheng walked back to the temple. Have you seen the changes in the stars? I can't see it, but I know what you said, Master Uncle, must be right. Seeing Ao Sheng's solemn appearance, Fu Xi was very surprised and pleased. Ao Sheng suddenly said, "Is it Heavenly Court?" "Okay." Ao Sheng pouted, and said in a strange and disdainful tone, "Since Heavenly Court controls the sky, only Heavenly Court can silently steal the power of the stars." When he just looked at the sun, he finally thought of why the power of the stars would change. But don't forget, Great Primordial Demon Race Heavenly Court, the most awesome ultimate power is not Bell of Primordial Chaos, but Great Array of Revolving Starry Skies. His thoughts turned silently, so, Heavenly Court has already started to practice the Great Array of Revolving Starry Skies. It's no wonder that Heavenly Court's provocation against Witch Clan will intensify, making Mt. Buzaoshan very nervous. Nephew Ao Sheng. Nephew Ao Sheng. Sorry Master Uncle, I was just distracted. Fu Xi shook his head indifferently, and said with a smile, "It's nothing, but judging from your performance, you think about things that are not older than mine. I just saw that you seemed to be disdainful, why is that?" Ao Sheng sat upright and said, "Although the disciples don't know how the Heavenly Court steals the power of the stars, they don't even know their purpose." "Well, actually I know, but I can't say it. However, in the eyes of this disciple, Heavenly Court is seeking its own death." These 4 words are extremely serious. Even Fu Xi was surprised. He subconsciously asked, "Oh? How should I say it?" The sentient beings of the Great Primordial are vast and endless, and there are countless living beings who have cultivated through the stars and survived. Heavenly Court is now blatantly stealing the power of the stars. To put it more seriously, it is cutting off the path of the Great Primordial sentient beings. Humph, even though the Great Primordial world puts the strong first, there is also Heavenly Dao running, high above, overlooking the common people, but maintaining the Great Primordial running. Heavenly Court acts like this, isn't it corrupting itself? Chi luck. Having said that, Ao Sheng's originally dignified complexion became lazy. "Master Uncle, anyway, let me tell you, those 2 birds in Heavenly Court are going to die by themselves, it will definitely be bad luck." Fu Xi shook his head and didn't care too much. After all, who would believe that a golden fairy dared to say that the Lord of the mighty Heavenly Court would be in bad luck? But other than that, Ao Sheng's analysis is absolutely penetrating, going straight to the essence of the problem. Fu Xi asked, "Ao Sheng, I want to migrate human race, what do you think?" "Good thing." Ao Sheng came alive again. "Migration human race, absolutely fantastic. Although this Mt. Buzaoshan is the great primordial ancestral mountain, however this is a place of right and wrong. Not to mention, probably not long, this is not broken. If the human race still stays under Mt. Buzaoshan, it may be directly extinct. Senior Fu Xi, let's move out now. Senior Fu Xi took me to escape, leaving the eyes of my uncle and master. That damn love is too much for this disciple of mine to bear. Nephew Ao Sheng, you are living in blessings and don't know your blessings. 3 Pure One's Daoist friend, what an amazing person. There are countless great powers among the great primordials, and they are eager to have the opportunity to listen to their sermons, even if they just look at them from a distance, they feel that they are a great blessing. But this little guy is kind and disgusting." Fu Xi shook his head and withdrew his heart mark. "Forget it, we have to leave after all." Reluctantness suddenly appeared in Fu Xi's eyes. "I think back when my sister and I were just born, we couldn't even go up the mountainside of Mt. Buzaoshan, because the pressure of the Pangu Father God was still there, and it was so mighty and indescribable." On this point, Ao Sheng heard from his master that at the beginning of the Great Primordial, Mt. Buzaoshan was mighty. Golden Immortal of the Great Way can only be qualified to climb the mountain if it is close to Mt. Buzaoshan, pseudo-saint. For this reason, Mt. Buzaoshan is sacred and extraordinary, even if fierce beasts are raging, Mt. Buzaoshan will stand tall. However, the power of the great god Pangu is fading. But in just these few days, Mt. Buzaoshan is already very lively. Ao Sheng, this world is not short, big brother. Okay, now that the decision has been made, let's move directly. I happen to know a place with a quiet environment and not many big monsters, which is suitable for human race to live in. God Fu Xi stretched out his sleeves, and suddenly a mighty force enveloped the entire human race. Feeling an incomparably majestic package of mana, Ao Sheng suddenly chuckled, "Hee, great supernatural beings are capricious. Today's human race has grown to nearly 1 million people. If you migrate on foot, you don't know how many people will die along the way." However, the man with great supernatural powers raised his hand, packed it directly, and felt comfortable. Hey, Master, Master Uncle, Second Master Uncle, goodbye for now. Dezhao, when Fu Xi performed the method of moving the universe and wanted to pack and transfer the human race directly, on the heavenly court, Emperor Jun and Tai Yi showed a look of satisfaction. Emperor Jun smiled happily at this moment, and said to Tai Yi, okay, okay, okay. The first round of training of the great array of revolving starry skies went smoothly and the 7th round is complete. Tai Yi also nodded, this is a great formation bestowed by Dao Ancestor, it can be used to fight against Saint, it is very extraordinary. But brother, after the first round of sacrificial training, I feel that I should take a rest. Emperor Jun waved his hand and said, Tai, I know what you are worried about. But don't worry, I have used the Book of Myriad Charted Rivers to deduce that there will be no changes in a short time. After Tai Yi heard this, he felt a little relieved. Your Majesty, it's not good. P.S. Sorry for the late update. Writing this episode, I am walking on eggshells. Because if one is not good, it will lose the fun and make some brothers feel dissatisfied. The author must handle it carefully. Chapter 72. Crack. After a muffled sound, the top-grade star sand refined in Emperor Jun's hands was crushed directly, and the starry stars flickered immediately, and then dispersed. Brother. Tai Yi said softly. He knew very well that at this juncture, the big brother Emperor Jun was holding a breath in his heart. He practiced the great array of revolving starry skies, and at the same time directly let Mt. Bazaoshan's demon race, and the Witch clan continue to escalate the friction, which has already shown his inner thoughts at this time. Emperor Jun, he needs a vigorous and tough battle to quickly show the strength of Heavenly Court. Speaking of which, the reason why Emperor Jun is so aggrieved is because of the Dragon Clan and the little evil dragon Ao Sheng of the Dragon Clan. Heavenly Court's strategy for launching the Dragon Clan can be called the anticlimactic event of the Great Primordial Epic today. It mobilized more than 3 million heavenly soldiers and generals, and the 7 demon gods were dispatched together, and Kunpeng was given a future emperor. Teacher's title. Result: they went shopping around the East Sea, and then returned to Heavenly Court. Nothing is done. Even, that little evil dragon was still outside Zixiao Palace, mocking them Emperor of Heaven in public. With Emperor Jun's heart being arrogant, it is absolutely unacceptable in his heart. But what if you don't accept it? After all, even Dao Ancestor has spoken, telling him not to take any further actions against the Dragon and Phoenix Kylan clan. Now, Heavenly Court has managed to get this magic weapon at the bottom of the box, so it is a big move to let the Great Primordial see the strength of Heavenly Court, not a joke. Goals for big moves, first of all Witch clan. But when he was in the middle of his excitement, someone suddenly came to him and said, it's not good, isn't that bad luck? Emperor Jun's violent temper immediately came up. It's as if when you were laughing out loud, someone suddenly came and grabbed your throat. Well, I know, let him in. Soon, the demon god Baizi entered the inner hall in person. Tai Yi exclaimed, Baizi demon god, you actually came here in person. Baizi smiled wryly and said, Your Majesty, this matter is no small matter, you must be mentally prepared. Emperor Jun nodded slowly, and asked, but there are creatures in the Great Primordial who discovered that the power of the stars was intercepted by the Heavenly Court. Practicing the large formation will naturally consume the power of the stars. This will affect all beings. But Emperor Jun doesn't care. One will be successful, and the bones will be exhausted, not to mention that Heavenly Court did not completely retain the star power, but released part of it. Baizi shook his head, Your Majesty, no. Emperor Jun relaxed a little when he heard that it was not the power of the stars, He thought it must be that the Great Primordial was dissatisfied with intercepting the power of the stars, so he wanted to do something against the Heavenly Court. In his heart, hey! I crushed a star cup in vain. Baizi said again, it's just, you have to be mentally prepared for this matter. Hey! It's not about the stars, so how about asking Baizi King to come here in person? He said, Baizi, why do you have to be so restrained in front of this emperor, just speak up. Baizi opened his mouth, but he didn't continue speaking in a daze. Tai Yi, Baizi King, if you have something to say, just say it. Baizi took a deep breath, stepped back a few steps, and finally said, Your Majesty, it is the 2 fairies Changpo and Xi who are gone. As soon as these words came out, Emperor Jun was stunned on the spot. Chang Xi and Xi are the innate creatures of Taiyan Star, not only are they beautiful, they are also born with the law of the sun. The cultivation of the two of them is the top golden immortal of the Great Way, not to mention that the laws they control correspond to their own, and they are his perfect queen candidates. He also said a few days ago that when he waited for the great array of revolving starry skies to practice, it would be the day he married their sisters. In order to make his wedding more influential, Emperor Jun even made a special agreement with goddess Nuwa, asking her, the great primordial saint, to host the wedding. Goddess Nuwa also agreed. But now Baizi ran over to him and said, Your Majesty, your wife is missing. Emperor Jun's body shook twice, and everyone could see the anger. What the hell is going on? At this time, Emperor Jun did not lose his temper, but his voice was deep and terrifying. Obviously, he deduced it with the book of myriad charted rivers, absolutely nothing should affect heavenly court. But the problem is, at the critical moment, my wife is gone. Tai Yi at this time was also very surprised. He now finally understood why Bai Zi came in person. Because another person came over, the elder brother might have been slapped to death in a rage. As for him backing away repeatedly when he spoke, he instinctively wanted to distance himself from the angry elder brother. Chong Xi and Xi are the peak golden immortal of the Great Way, and the birth of Taiyin Star, even the book of myriad charted rivers, the innate spirit treasure, cannot be counted. What's more, under normal circumstances, how could Emperor Jun think that his fiancée would be gone if he said nothing? Tai suddenly thought of something. That's not right. When Taiyin Star was practicing the great array of revolving starry skies earlier, Taiyin Star's star power was still intact. Why did the two sisters-in-law suddenly disappear? Bai Zi smiled wryly and said, Your Majesty, after I got the report, I went to check it immediately. Your Majesty, Taiyin Star disappeared together with that laurel tree. Innate spirit root laurel above Taiyin Star, Emperor Jun and Tai are naturally known. That is the top spiritual root of Great Primordial that can be tied with the sun star hibiscus wood. It's just a pity that this spiritual root was unlucky when the Great Primordial was formed, and it suffered a congenital doom, and it couldn't survive it. In fact, the existence of the top 10 innate spirit roots was originally a thing of heaven-defying, for which they all suffered catastrophe, but some were so serious that they were about to die. But now, the laurel tree is gone. Tai suddenly thought of something and said, Devil God. Could it be that the undead laurel tree turned into a demon god and kidnapped Chong Xi and Xi? Hung Jun Dao ancestor just emphasized at the time of Zi Xiaogong that this demon god is hidden among the great primordial beings. What's more, the great primordial already has the innate spirit root to become a demon god. Furthermore, even the jade plate of good fortune failed to discover the hiding place of the demon god, and the book of myriad charted rivers could not deduce it, which is perfectly normal. Emperor Jun's voice was extremely cold, and then he forced out a sentence, Okay, what a demon god, dare to rob the emperor's wife. I, Emperor Jun, will surely smash you to pieces, and your soul will be scattered. What? In the blink of an eye, Fu Xi has migrated to a brand new place with human race. The sun here is bright but it doesn't burn people. There are mountains and rivers for millions of miles around, and the scenery is indeed beautiful. But Master Uncle, is this the geomantic treasure land you said there is no big monster? Ao Sheng's dragon soul roughly scanned around, but already found no less than 10 tyrannical existences of the golden immortal of Supreme Unity series. That's right, is there any big monster? But Fu Xi said indifferently, a mere golden immortal of Supreme Unity, also worthy of being called a great demon. Ao Sheng, Master Uncle, you are old Versailles too. P.S. I thought about it for half an hour yesterday before I came up with this idea. Get up at 5:30 and revise a chapter. Good morning, brothers. Chapter 73. Regardless of past and present lives, what he admires the most is this kind of mediocre academic bully. Well, I'm just an ordinary student admitted to King Bei University. I never felt like I had anything to be proud of. I even felt guilty and miserable because I was deducted an extra point for my composition. Fu Xi, he is definitely such a clean male god. At this moment, Fu Xi did not see Ao Sheng's adoring eyes. He nodded and said, But you reminded me that these big monsters of the golden immortal of Supreme Unity are trouble after all. In fact, there are many powerful beings around, whether they are willing to admit that they are demon race is still a matter of opinion. But now that heavenly court is established, the word demon race has penetrated into the hearts of all beings. Therefore, in the current Great Primordial, as long as it is not the Dragon and Phoenix Kylan and Witch clan, just call him a demon. Uniting all races to establish monsters is itself an undeniable achievement of Heavenly Court, which is to promote the progress of barren civilization. Ao Sheng folded his hands directly on his chest, and then stared straight at Fu Xi. Big Boss Fu Xi realized later, saw Ao Sheng's posture, and asked in surprise, "Nephew, what are you doing?" "Master Uncle, please start your performance." "Fu Xi, this nephew is extremely talented, chi luck is amazing. But I'm just too lazy, and I always feel that my little head is not normal. But he can also understand, after all, he is still young." The great god Fu Xi stepped in the void, and lightly threw the wooden staff in the void. He spoke slowly and politely. "I am Fu Xi. From today onwards, within 1,000,000 miles around this mountain, it will be a place for human race to recuperate. Please retreat, Daoist friends." Fu Xi's voice turned into waves of incomparably mighty sound waves that spread out to the surroundings. Not long after, these spiritual wills rose directly into the sky. The incomparably terrifying evil spirit turned into clusters of monster clouds, rolling and moving. Among them, there was a terrifying, monster-like existence with blue-faced fangs and roared at this moment, "Fu Xi? But Mt Buzoutian Fu Xi? The brother of today's Saintess Nuwa." Fu Xi smiled, "Exactly. Please also give me a thin noodle." At this time, another big snake wriggled its body and said with a smile, "So it was the great god Fu Xi who came here, so naturally you deserve the face. However, isn't it too much for you to come up and make us leave the place where we originally lived?" Another powerful Tai said, "GG. We heard that you can't be sanctified." Ha ha ha. Ao Sheng looked at those big monsters who were madly dying, and shook his head helplessly. He suddenly thought of a very classic saying, "Some people, they seem to be cunning, vicious and cunning, but they actually have no brains." Sure enough, God Fu Xi didn't talk to them too much. "It seems that you all disagree, that's it." His brows suddenly condensed, and terrifying clouds suddenly appeared above the sky, and there were streaks of thunder brilliance condensed. "Actually, the poor Daoist doesn't mind killing, but he is usually lazy like my nephew." The words fell, and the sky suddenly changed. Boom! At this moment, a mighty power suddenly emerged, and 23 terrifying thunderbolts suddenly emerged from the million field centered on Fu Xi. Seeing this scene, Ao's scalp became numb. It turns out that there are other great powers hiding behind this. Ao Sheng patted his chest, completely taken aback. "But it's normal if I can't find out, after all, my cultivation is still too little. At this moment, it is just a lazy golden fairy. And the aura corresponding to these 23 thunderbolts even has the existence of the Golden Immortal of the Great Way series. There is a saying that is indeed not bad, the Great Primordial has countless hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Even though the current Heavenly Court has gathered many great abilities, there are still more tyrannical creatures hiding in every corner of the Great Primordial." Fu Xi's voice became more and more indifferent, "If you refuse to retreat, then, let's die." At this moment, Ao Sheng really understands a word, thunderbolt. Under this terrible thunder, everything was completely swept away. Whether it is the Golden Immortal of Supreme Unity or the Golden Immortal of the Great Way, under the power of the great god Fu Xi, they were directly turned into fly ash. Facing this kind of terrifying thunder, one must either have strength similar to Fu Xi's, or have spirit treasure body protection, otherwise everything will be turned into fly ash. After doing all these things, Master Fu Xi looked calm. "Okay, so it should be quiet for a while." He lowered his head and saw Ao Sheng looking at him strangely, so he said, "Nephew Ao Sheng, actually, I don't like killing." Ao Sheng nodded quickly, and then made a profound summary, "I understand. There is no doubt about this, everyone knows that Saintess Nuwa's elder brother, Fu Xi is a pacifist from the bottom of his heart. However, Ao Sheng understands today that he is a good man with his own principles, not the Hong Yun in the past who blindly treats others well. Of course, from another point of view, Fu Xi directly went on a killing spree today to eliminate the sudden change monster, which shows how much he values human race." 0. Asking for flowers. "Master Uncle, although you have killed many Golden Immortal of Supreme Unity and Golden Immortal of the Great Way with a single raise of your hand, it's all because of their refusal to move, and it's all their fault. Master Uncle, you killed them, but you are a good person." Of course Ao Sheng doesn't care about this. Just as intrigues in the workplace are all about making money, Great Primordial lives and dies for his own benefit. And, for human race, it is very necessary for Fu Xi to do so. As a time traveler, Ao Sheng is very aware of the value of human race itself. It should be noted that when Nuwa created humans, he integrated his own blood into the human race. Swallow human race, you can get holy blood. Although no one knows this secret at present, no one can guarantee whether there will be any accidents. At least Ao Sheng knew in his heart that there might be such a big crisis in human race in the future. Today's human race is still too young. Even the first person, Xiu Qingling, is only in the realm of golden immortal of supreme unity. When human race has just moved here, it is very necessary to clear the surrounding area to ensure that human race can reproduce. Fu Xi showed a smile. Well, you are right, Fu Xi, is naturally a good person. For the good person card, the Master Fu Xi will not refuse anyone. Ao Sheng, I also hope to be a good person like you, Master Uncle. A good man with strength who can carry out the justice in his heart. Ao Sheng's justice, nobody wants to disturb my sleep. Fu Xi, then work hard, with your talent and opportunity, maybe one day you can step into pseudo-saint. You have to practice hard. Tomorrow I will definitely practice hard. Senior Shen Wang, you have to work hard. Okay, human race has moved to a new place, and the surrounding area has been cleared, and the next problem is to deal with the night. The starlight weakens at night, so that the problem of aggravating the cold night must have a targeted policy. Ao Sheng also felt very necessary. After all, after the starlight weakens, will it affect the quality of my sleep? Many thoughts flashed through Ao Sheng's mind. Suddenly, a flash of spiritual light transformed into a thunderbolt into Ao Sheng's mind. Senior Fu Xi. But Fu Xi raised his hand at this moment. A guest is here. P.S. On weekends, my dear grandparents came to visit me and stayed with them, so I wasted time. Sorry, hurry up and start the code word factory. Chapter 74. Guest. Human race has just moved, where are the guests? Soon, a ray of golden light descended from the sky, and a phoenix waved its wings and landed far away, bursting with divine, extraordinary and auspiciousness. After the phoenix fell, Ao Sheng smiled and said, So it's you, little guy. This phoenix is the golden phoenix fairy who serves beside goddess Nuwa, the goddess of the current phoenix clan. When the golden phoenix arrived in front of Ao Sheng, she immediately transformed into a beautiful, lovely, pure, and agile fairy. She was dressed in a golden dress, clearly outlining her wonderful figure. I still remember the last time I saw her, she was just a little girl. Now she is already slim and graceful, but she is short of having a worldwide chest. She heard Ao Sheng's words, pouted her lips immediately, and said, Humph, you are the little guy. Ao Sheng. Good guy, little girl, I admit that you have grown up. But you don't 860 want to force me to tell you colorful jokes. After she and Ao Sheng looked down on each other, meet Uncle Fu Xi. My sister asked you to come, but there is something to order. Jin Huang hurriedly said obediently, Uncle Master, you are truly unparalleled in wisdom. Your Majesty invites you and this little dragon to go to Tianweishan to listen to the sermon. Hey! Fu Xi was taken aback for a moment, and her sister sanctified later said that it was inevitable. But why now? Ao Sheng, listen to the sermon? Why did you call me on this matter? Wouldn't it be nice to just let me sleep peacefully in human race for 2 years? In case I fell asleep while goddess Nuwa was preaching, just thinking about it, Ao Sheng's expression is Chong a rabbit grinning face. Fu Xi asked again, who else did you invite to the sermon? Jin Huang said directly, Tai Yi of Heavenly Court and His Majesty Emperor Jun. Other than that, there is no one else. Fu Xi's brows frowned even tighter. It stands to reason that Nuwa Sanctified said at the time that it will preach in the outer world, and anyone who is predestined can come and listen. But now, how come only myself and the demon race Emperor of Heaven were invited? Master, Madam has said, this time the preaching will be given first, and then the preaching of the great primordial sentient beings. Ao Sheng on the side also listened, and said silently, this is just a small stove. Your Majesty will give Fu Xi Master Uncle a small treat, of course there is no problem. After all, he is a real brother. It's okay to give me a little treat. After all, I'm cute, handsome, talented, and popular. But, why did Goddess Nuwa call Emperor Jun? At this time, Ao Sheng suddenly thought of a key question, are Nuwa and Fu Xi a demon race? While Ao Sheng was pondering, Fu Xi also frowned. At this moment, Jin Huang spoke again, "Uncle, you don't have to hesitate, the Empress has said that she already knows about the issue of human race. She will handle the issue of the stars. Besides, Tai Yi and Emperor Jun probably won't go back, so the only people who will hear the sermon are you and the little dragon Ao Kai. Okay? This, why?" Jin Huang was suddenly a little surprised. "Master, don't you know? Also, you have been working hard on human race these days, so it's normal that you haven't heard of it." Hey! Ao Sheng suddenly regained his energy. With his professional gaze, combined with the expression of the little girl Jin Huang at this time, he immediately understood one thing: yes. Ba. Gua. And it's big gossip. Chong Xi and Xi He, the current masters of Taiyin Star, are missing. Emperor Jun is already preparing to invite Goddess Nuwa to propose marriage in person, and will marry their sisters soon, making them apocalypse. Oh! This time Ao Sheng couldn't bear it any longer, and said directly, "It's because the two sisters dislike Emperor Jun for being too ugly and sad, so who eloped? Tisk tisk tisk. Then Emperor Jun has become a Tauren. Ha ha ha. Ao Sheng is easy to laugh, not to mention he can't help it now." "Humph, what are you laughing at?" Jin Huang glared at him and said, "The Emperor of Heaven is obviously from the Golden Crow, what's going on?" The Tauren is definitely not a bull monster." Jin Huang glared at him again, but ignored Ao Sheng. Fu Xi shook his head, even he didn't know what Ao Sheng said, let alone Golden Phoenix. He said, "Since my sister has made arrangements, let me arrange a little human race and go out immediately. Ao Sheng, prepare yourself too." "Ah, Fu Xi master uncle, why don't I watch human race? After all, I just settled down, so I can help if I stay here." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Fu Xi looking at him with extremely suspicious eyes, and what he won was full of distrust. "Number T? Do you mean sleeping on the altar and asking others to help?" At this time, Jin Huang mercilessly gave Jin Huang the knife. "Humph, it's just a mere golden fairy." Ao Sheng was angry at the time. "What happened to the golden immortal? You are also a golden immortal." Jin Huang smiled, dimples appeared on her beautiful face. "Hehe, I'm already in the middle stage of golden immortal, brother. You. Hi, I really want her to know that my brother is actually very fierce." "Forget it, she is indeed older than me anyway." At this time, Fu Xi said, "There are Kengwu and Qingling in human race, and they will be golden immortal of supreme unity. Also, since my sister invited you by name, Ao Sheng, why don't you try it, this?" Thinking of the kind, beautiful, gentle and kind-hearted goddess Nuwa, Ao Sheng faltered. "All right, maybe we can still see those two Tauren. No, it's the Tauren Golden Crow. Retribution, retribution." Ao Sheng talked to himself and continued, "I really want to know which hero took away the beautiful future diva for Emperor Jun and Tai Yi." Ao Sheng has never been stingy with his rich vocabulary. Seeing Ao Sheng's complacent look, Fu Xi just thinks this kid is really interesting. However, he suddenly froze. Unexpectedly, it came true. Yes, he suddenly remembered that the little dragon had said not long ago that Emperor Jun and Tai Yi would be unlucky. He also said at the time that Emperor Jun Tai is the great emperor of Heavenly Court, and there is no such thing as bad luck. But now, at this moment, his gaze towards Ao Sheng became strange. After 2.3 for a while, I came back to my senses. Hehe, is it a coincidence? However, coincidence itself is a very remarkable thing. Above Heavenly Court Taiyin Star, Emperor Jun worked hard to deduce with Book of Myriad Charted Rivers. He hopes to use the Book of Myriad Charted Rivers to combine the traces of Chong Zi and his sister's lives, so that they can be found. However, nothing. At this moment, Emperor Jun was really irritable. Tai stepped up and said, "Brother, I just received the news that Goddess Nuwa invited us to listen to the sermon." Without even thinking about it, Emperor Jun said directly, "No. Damn it, the wives have been kidnapped, so how can I listen to the sermon now?" Tai Yi said, "Brother, it is the saint's duty to fight against the demon god." Emperor Jun immediately understood what Tai Yi meant. "Okay, Tai, let Bai Zi prepare a generous gift and go to Saintess Nuwa's Tianwei immediately." Chapter 75. This is Tianwei. Ao Sheng looked at the surrounding scenery carefully from left to right, and was immediately surprised. It's really a barren place. Since traveling to the great primordial world, Sheng has never seen such a desolate and barren land. No, this is no longer desolate and barren, but a blur of chaos. Countless quicksands are falling heavily, but Aojian can't see where the source of these sands is. All in all, it was a sight that Sheng could not have imagined. It's only been so long since my sister sanctified, and it's already amazing to be able to open up such a world in the chaos. Do you know how many long years it took God the Father to open up the great primordial world? Don't know at all. At the core of the entire barren world, there is a majestic huge palace. In the whole world, this palace is the only one surrounded by the supreme fairyland, with boundless mighty power hanging down, an auspicious light, even if it is not much better than MT Kunlun 04. Let's go, my sister is waiting for us. Fu Xi calmly and indifferently walked forward step by step. This mysterious world beyond the sky originally had no road. But after Fu Xi walked past, 3 roads appeared in front of him. Sheng obediently followed behind the great god Fu Xi. Outside the Nuwa palace, goddess Nuwa greeted her personally, "Brother, it is hard work for you." Fu Xi looked at his sister and showed a sincere smile, "It's not bitter." The 2 siblings used the simplest words to express their most sincere emotions. Sheng was silent behind Fu Xi. He began to quietly look at the Nuwa palace. But suddenly he saw that the little girl of the golden phoenix, no, it was the big girl who was staring at him now. Sheng immediately gave her a look, "What are you looking at?" Jin Huang, being provoked inexplicably, she immediately responded fiercely. She raised her eyebrows and interpreted the jargon with disdainful eyes, "What are you doing?" Sheng was about to tell the other party with his eyes, "Try another look." But don't want Sheng. A gentle call came. This shout made Sheng immediately stand at attention. "Ma'am, I'm here. You worked hard too," Nuwa said with a smile. Sheng quickly shook his head, and said very frankly, "Mother, I didn't work hard, not at all." Not only the truth, but also appears to be particularly sincere and enthusiastic. Nuwa chuckled and said, "Come into my palace. In the past, you brought tea to me for brother the Grand Pure One. I didn't expect that I was sanctified at that time, and I never drank that sip of tea. But now I have good tea here, and I will never lose to the tea from brother the Grand Pure One." Sheng said happily, "Master Uncle, thank you Master Uncle. I am also stupid, what kind of empress do you call me, how close Master Uncle is. Huanger, go and make tea for your senior brother." The little golden phoenix who was staring at Sheng before, is now as cute as a cat. But after a while, she made a plan to come over. This pot of tea is really different. The tumbling tea leaves showed a lavender color of Minggrui, and the tumbling tea leaves were obviously just tea leaves, but in Sheng's eyes, it was like flying around. But he shook his head, and it turned into ordinary tea again. "Thank you, ma'am, for your generosity. Thank you Jin Huang's sister for bringing me tea." Regarding this, the golden phoenix sister gave a gentle but strange smile. This kind of laughter seems to be gloating. Sheng finished his tea quietly. Suddenly his head was a little groggy, and he wished he would fall asleep on the spot immediately. While in a daze, the voice of goddess Nuwa came, "Sheng, this is the spiritual tea I picked in the chaos. When it comes to quality, it is still on the tea tree of Mtwi, brother of the Grand Pure One. Citing this tea can cleanse the body and strengthen the body, it is more able to gather the soul. However, there may be some pain in this process, I hope you can bear it." "Thank you, mother." After saying this word, Sheng fell asleep on the spot. He was confused, but he forgot the 10 times of calling Nuwa Master Uncle. And he fell into a coma too quickly, but he missed a word. At this moment, Nuwa's complexion froze. "Mother?" Fu Xi looked into the distance, pretending not to hear at all. But he said in his heart, "Good guy, this kid has a thick skin." I suddenly became his uncle. The golden phoenix on the side was completely dumbfounded. "I've seen thick-skinned dragons, but I've never seen such shameless dragons." She finally couldn't help asking, "Mother, is he a disciple of Western Zunti?" Nuwa chuckled, and lightly reprimanded, "Don't talk nonsense. Just let him realize the Dao quietly here, and besides, if there are distinguished guests coming, you go and greet them." Just as Jin Huang was about to go out, voices from outside the door had already come in. But the voice of Emperor Jun came, "Goddess Nuwa, there is no need to greet, my brothers are late, hope to see you soon sorry. Not long after, the two brothers had appeared before the Nuwa palace with a group of demon gods. Fu Xi watched them come in, Yi Shi frowned slightly. Jin Huang had said that the two brothers probably wouldn't come. Confusion arose in his heart, sister, what exactly does he want to do? As a real elder brother, Fu Xi knows that her younger sister has always been very thoughtful, far more resourceful than herself. But now that his sister is sanctified, he can no longer guess what her sister is thinking. Forget it, Nuwa has her own calculations after all, I just need to stay the same and respond to all changes. Emperor Jun paced into the Nuwa palace, and he saw Fui first. It turns out that brother Fu Xi is here too. I haven't seen you for many years, brother Dao's magic power is getting more and more profound, Grand Dao can be expected. Fu Xi responded with a friendly smile, and said, savages in the mountains, how can they compare to Emperor Jun and Tai Dao brothers? With the support of Emperor of Heaven Chi Luk, their cultivation has skyrocketed all the way. In the future, the Emperor of Heaven sanctified is not far away. What followed was a short commercial exchange. It was Nuwa who interrupted them and said, Your Majesty, let's sit inside. The Grand Pure One gave me some tea in the past, but now I just borrow tea to present to the Emperor of Heaven. Emperor Jun burst out laughing, thank you for your broadband, the Emperor has also prepared some small gifts. Bai Zi, bring it up to Saint. He turned around and told Bai Zi, but at this moment, his eyes suddenly froze. He knows the little thing slumped on the chair on the left. No, it is absolutely impossible to forget. This is the evil dragon who satirizes Zi Xiao in public at the gate of the palace. Ao Sheng. P.S. Take a break with eye drops, anti-inflammatory drops for sty, and continue to code. There will be some calculations in the next plot, and there may even be a little bit of controversy. I have made detailed settings. In addition to Baidu, I also read a lot of great primordial books. My purpose in writing this book is to have fun bringing together and perfecting the fragments of the great primordial that I know. Of course, this book will try its best to avoid many poisons, so that you can read it comfortably.
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.